Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
The WNBA draft is underway. Caitlin Clark has been drafted first for the Indiana Fever. Civil War is taking over the box office, but throw all that away. We've got our own Fever on the track. We've got our own Civil War with LMP3 and GT4 factions fighting. Prepare for some more action here in the LMP3-GT4 Challenge of the PRL. Welcome to round 3 of 2024 Season 1 for the LMP3-GT4 Challenge, and a little bit later tonight, the GTP-LMP2 series in the PRL, both of which will take on Humble Road Atlanta. My name is Joey Tebben. Alongside me in the booth once again is Derek Watson, and behind the scenes is our producer, Ramiro Augustine Cisneros. Derek, it's double Road Atlanta, all the time, all multi-class racing. Gonna get a little bit crazy tonight. We know Road Atlanta is known for tight and twisty sections and rewarding precision and very much punishing mistakes, and that's when you're in a single class series.
Yeah, I think the one you left off was all the traffic all the time. That's what it's going to be all night long. Look at the schedule, though. After this, it starts to clear up a little bit. We got some bigger tracks towards the end of the schedule, but this will be the last, I think, really tight track on the schedule. I'm excited to see this here. If we look at LMP3 standings, Joey, you'll see Jason Drescher is up in the lead and has Christian Garrettson behind him, only 14 points.
Indeed, Jason has had a very strong run so far this season, defending champion, so we shouldn't really be surprised. 2 wins, 2 poles, and it's all gone his way. Christian Garrettson, Christian Eisler, returning from a couple of seasons off. He's had a solid start as well, and Vincent LaRue and Eric Leroy, both podiums for them as well. But in the team standings, things are going to get very close because all of those drivers we mentioned fighting for the championship, they do have teammates just a little bit lower in the order than they are. Grant's Garage, that's Jason Drescher and Ian Starker. They're 1st and 10th in the championship. The Rob Clark crew, their Team Red team, that's 6th and 8th, Mikey Smith and Chad Myatt. So do you go with one very strong driver and one slightly lower driver? You have 2 evenly matched drivers. Which one of those is going to win the team's championship? That's going to be very interesting to watch all season long. In the GT4 drivers standings, the points still slightly off. They are updating that over in PRL land. They're going to get it updated to be the actual point system, where in GT4 you get the most points for the win. You don't just get points based on where you finished on track in comparison with the LMP3s, but that's coming next week potentially. All we know for now is that Aiden Young, after winning his first race in the PRL last week, he is in the lead of the championship. Arnaud Genet, Adam Brockway round at the top 3 with all A's, and then Floyd Kerr and William Brennan with Hyperion Racing round out the top 5. And speaking of Hyperion Racing, 2 drivers in the top 5 means that you likely get to lead the team's championship. With Fiercely Forward and Aiden Young, he doesn't have any teammates, so he's a little bit lower in the order than he would like. Arnaud Genet driving for the team, in quotation marks, Beware Stewards driving. He's only had a teammate, Jerome Bertillon, for 1 round of the 2 this season, so they're going to have some work to do in the team's championship. And of course, the old stalwarts, the Moradness M Squad and the Miracle Flow Misfits, they've got some work to do as well, looking for their Moradness' second win of the season, and the Miracle Flow Misfits looking for their first win ever in a GT4 car, for that matter. But qualifying is currently underway for everybody, so let's take you through the people who make all this possible very quickly. This coverage is brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. RaceBox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceBoxSimRacing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using the Precision5 coupon code. This coverage is also brought to you by The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with The Butt Kicker. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And last but not least, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. All right, Derek, we got all the bookkeeping out of the way. Couple of seconds left in qualifying. Shouldn't really tell you any kind of a surprise down in GT4 land. Adam Brockway for the Moradness M Squad, back on pole, winner of the first round this season, and if I'm not mistaken, pole sitter in both rounds this season in GT4. I should really check my data there. But more interestingly, David Duino, Derek, has broken the Jason Drescher pole streak, and with only a couple of seconds left, I don't think that's getting topped.
No, I don't think so either. So for the first time this season, we'll have a new LMP3 pole sitter here at Road Atlanta. This very tight and tricky 12-turn course, almost like an obstacle course in some way, with all the hills and battles we're going to face here, Joey. But it's going to be a busy night for multi-class racing in both races here at Road Atlanta.
You see some names that you don't see in the top 6 there in GT4. Ted Lowendick, who we're used to qualifying very, very well in a GT4 car, actually just below what you saw on your screen. He's down in P7. Jerome Bertillon, Adam Ostrich a little bit deeper in the field than they would like. Michael Terrafino as well. Arnaud Genet as well. It could be a little bit of a topsy-turvy day at Road Atlanta. Sometimes it has the tendency to do that with Petit Le Mans and many special events going on around here. Some drivers just figure this place out easier than some others do. But we do have the grid set for you as qualifying ticks to 0, and we can officially tell you that if I'm not mistaken, for the first time ever in the PRL, David Duino will start from pole. I'm going to do a quick Control F on my other screen, and yes, I can tell you officially, David Duino gets to start from pole for the first time in his PRL career. He'll start alongside Jason Drescher on the front row, the pole sitter of the first 2 rounds this season. Unfortunately, his streak comes to an end by 62 thousandths of a second. Then Vincent Leroux and Eric Leroy, a very confusingly named second row. They'll start alongside each other 3rd and 4th. Christian Garaton Eisler starts P5, and Daniel Kranifus will start alongside him on row number 3. Having some slight technical difficulties with the grid, but I'll continue reading it radio style for you all. Chase Wilson and Nicky L. Taylor make up row number 4. Calvin Mayant and Greg Doucette round out the top 10. Then it's Sean Romig, a driver who's moved up from GT4 to LMP3 this season. He starts 11th. He'll start alongside Nicholas Karangis in P12, a driver who won a race last season at Sandown. Then Doug Sorrentino, David Steveson, Corey Precker, Ian Starker, they round out the top 16 in LMP3. Sean Mulholland will actually be racing today, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he's going to be on admin duty. I think he's actually going to be on track. That'll be very fun. Then Matt Dinsmore, Gary Gainsel, Samuel Ma, and Scott Angelo round out your LMP3 field. That's 21 cars in LMP3, led by David Duino. And down in GT4, Adam Brockway will lead the field from pole, a driver who won the first round this season. Then Aiden Young, the championship leader, will start beside him. Turner Schroll for Hyperion Racing, looking for his first win in quite a while in the PRL. He'll start P3. Cade Smith, looking for his first win ever in the PRL. Very strong driver, starting from 4th. Then Floyd Kerr will start alongside Joshua Burke on row number 3. Ted Lowendick and Arnaud Genet, 2 drivers a little bit lower in the field than they'd like. They'll be looking forward from 7th and 8th. Michael Terrafino for Team Beef and former Supreme Court Justice William Brennan round out the top 10. Then Jerome Bertiome, the head honcho of the PRL, starts 32nd, or not 32nd, rather 11th in class, alongside the Flying Ostrich Adam Ostrich, Dan Willis, Roy Brown, Kalen Tobin, Nathan Jennings, Jordan Branch, Michael Doyle, and Dean Kerr bring you down to the end of the top 40 in the entire field, but the hits keep on coming. It's a massive field of multi-class racing here. Barry Sessoms, Max Stevenson, Will Jennings, Doug Evans, Travis Pruitt, Robert McGeehan, and Jean-Sebastien Bédard round out 47 cars, Derek. GT4, LMP3, 20-plus cars in each class. It's always chaos in this series. It's always a lot of fun, but that's a big field to take around Road Atlanta. We're going to be seeing more.
Yeah, it's an average like 4 cars per corner here at Road Atlanta, so it's going to be a busy, busy day. Probably a busy few laps here. And, you know, during the driver's briefing, the admins did remind the LMP3s to be patient here. It's hard for the GT4s to get out of your way, so be patient, especially through the S's when trying to find a passing spot here. We'll see if that happens. Sometimes what you tell them to do and what they do are 2 different things.
David Duino, as I mentioned, starting from his first pole ever in the PRL. It's not going to be his first win in the PRL if he is successful today, though. He did win a couple of seasons ago in, if I'm not mistaken, the opening season of the LMP3 GT4 Challenge. He won at the Nürburgring, beat a couple of drivers in this field, beat a guy named Tony Kanaan that you may have heard of, if I'm not mistaken. So he's definitely got some laurels to rest back upon. And also, Derek, he's coming into tonight with some good news. He's on a high. He was just accepted into NC State for aerospace engineering, so he doesn't even need this race win. He's going to work for NASA, but he wants this one too. Yeah, part of the Wolfpack family, if I recall, as being what NC State is. Had a great run through both men's and women's side of college basketball, since you mentioned the WNBA draft earlier. But and look at the conditions here, Joey. 102-degree Fahrenheit on the track. That's fairly warm here. We're almost 4 p.m. in the afternoon here. We're about, 20, 30 miles outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So not surprised it gets pretty hot here. It's truly hot Atlanta. We're finally living up to that name. We can finally say it. Yeah, I think the locals are done with us saying that, I think. Boo hiss. Well, it is Double D up at the head of the field. Duino and Drescher. One started from pole twice this season. One starting from pole for the first time in the PRL. David is going to be the one in control, though. The Hydro Race geodesic-colored LMP3 takes the green flag, and David Duino leads us to green at Road Atlanta. One by one into turn 1 as Vincent LaRue slots in line in P4. Eric Leroy going to be side-by-side with Christian Garretone into turn 1, as immediately the GT4 class takes the green flag as well. Brockway over Young, over Schroll, over Smith. These guys didn't even have a moment of side-by-side racing. As soon as that green flag flew, they stratified out one by one, all the way down the order. But sometimes that's a good thing, as filing down the S's for the first time, Jason Drescher hounding Duino, Aiden Young trying to hound Adam Brockway down the hill as well. But for now, everybody trying to get in the rhythm, trying to make sure that race doesn't end on lap 1. No, everyone's doing a great job here so far compared to what I thought may have happened on the start here. Everyone's single file now. The LMP3 is now up after turn 7 through turn 8, quote unquote. I hate calling that a turn, but we'll do that later. But yeah, they're doing a pretty good job here, and now they'll just kind of wait and I guess set up. I'm guessing a pass here probably through turn 10 will be the next prime spot for them. Henschel for a pass very deep in the background. I think that's Daniel Cranifus defending from Chase Wilson. Cranifus hangs on to the position, or rather, I think that was Chase Wilson doing the defending, rather. Similarly painted cars. Daniel Cranifus has actually had a very strong start. He's gotten ahead of Christian Garretone, and he's actually hounding Eric Leroy, the 444 in P4. Looking back at a driver who has been on the podium this season, has fought for wins. Bad luck all the way at the back of the field, though. Ian Starker, championship leaders in the team championship. Grant's Garage, they've got one car in second. Now they've got one car all the way down in 20th. Yeah, pretty far back. In fact, just in front of the GT4s to kind of show you how much pace he has lost here. Here comes Aiden Young. Change for the lead in GT4, Derek, immediately. Aiden Young was not holding back. The second he got that opportunity, he took it. We have a new leader after lap 1.
Yeah. Great job by Aiden. Aiden was pretty adamant during driver's briefing about when to go. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, here's what happened to Ian Starker. Gary Gainsel was involved in another car that I didn't quite see earlier on, who ended up in the concrete under the bridge. But that was many, many LMP3 cars involved, and poor old Gary Gainsel, as if it wasn't bad enough getting involved in that incident, coming down through the S's, likely damaged a little bit, and he has to find a very, very small piece of road to get back on track and not collect any of the GT4s coming through.
Yeah, of all the pieces of track that has runoff here, Joey, that we see here at this track, that would not have been the place to try to find it here. Here's Ian Starker again, by the way. That's a separate incident, I do believe.
And
so
that
that's
is a
bad
concrete
news.
wall. Concrete wall, Derek. No protection whatsoever. And yeah, it's going to be a very damaged LMP3 car. Is Adam Brockway going to go for the move on Young this time? No, he's not. Decides to stay in line and continue the hunt. This may be a question of two different dynamics, Derek. Aiden Young was hungry, wanted to take the lead, and absolutely did. But is Adam Brockway going to be thinking the same way? Or is he going to be thinking, we're both pretty equal on pace right now. Do I even need to make this move? Or can I just save a little bit of fuel and make it happen in the pit stops? That's kind of the dilemma of this series every week.
It really is, isn't it? And of course, there's an LMP that's about to get involved in that battle there. But yeah, and the concern I have here with passing in this track, Joey, is, if you make that pass and it doesn't work instantly, do you slow each other up? Do you let the rest of the fray back into the ruckus with you? And that would be even worse than, the sitting behind in second place for a while. Now we're back to the LMP3s up to the front here. This is Duino and Drescher, the two double D, as you said. And Duino's doing a great job here. Led every lap so far.
And there's David. Oh, and of course, he's got the theme t-shirt. He has to.
Oh, yeah, in C-State. You're right. I didn't notice that at first, but there's the shirt. Throwing off the new acceptance. And congrats on that. All kidding aside, that's a big accomplishment to get accepted anywhere you want to go to. So congrats to David.
Yeah, I did mechanical engineering for 1.5 semesters. And then I realized that I was bad at science and math. So that didn't go very well. I wish David better luck.
Those are kind of important.
Yeah, those are in engineering, science, math. Yeah, those are kind of the big two. Programming as well, didn't like that. That's even worse. That's like everything gone. Oh dear, it's all gone wrong. I believe that's Matt Dinsmore. No, it's Nikiel Taylor rather. All the way at the back of the field. The S's claims yet another victim, and this time it's old Nikiel.
Yeah, having a hard time right there. Now we're on board with Jason Drescher as he's going to follow in behind Duino here, and you see that. The hands all the way to the right there, Joey. One of the things about the LMP3s that people don't know about if you don't drive them in iRacing is that driver's seat spot. The camera is perfectly centered for your broadcast pleasure, but the driver's seat is all the way to the right. So it's a little different than almost any other car in iRacing I can think of. Are there other cars in iRacing with the Radical, maybe?
Radical, V8 Supercar, maybe. Those are all kind of off-center like this. This could get a little bit dicey, though, as one of the big fast racing cars, one of the Jenningses, I think that's Nathan in the middle of the road in turn 1. He's clearly gotten into a little bit of trouble. That's a very damaged car. Doesn't check up Duino, doesn't check up Drescher. They all make it through fairly safely, but that traffic is only just beginning, Derek. It may only be one damaged car now, but give it a couple of minutes, a couple of laps, and that traffic is going to be a lot thicker and a lot more difficult to pass as Jean-Sebastien Bédard is coming up next.
Yeah, in fact, right now they're all through turn 6, and there's a big herd of GT4s come up here out of turn 7, so not very long from now. And this may be Drescher's best opportunity to get around here when the lap traffic becomes a problem.
Ace Wilson trying to make it around the outside of Doug Sorrentino. That's a very difficult move to make through two 90-degree corners, and unfortunately the laws of physics send Mr. Myant, rather, a little bit further down. A lot of these cars are painted almost identically, but that is Calvin Myant, who was the non-benefactor there, and Chase Wilson. No, that was. This is so confusing, Derek. Sometimes we have some technical difficulties that make the cars more difficult to differentiate with the timing, but Chase Wilson is the leader of this train, or is the middle car in this train. Ahead of him is Doug Sorrentino. Behind him is Calvin Myant, and it's easy to see when drivers are side-by-side. Duino and Drescher did go side-by-side into turn 1. There was no mistaking that, Derek. Those guys were certainly going for it. Drescher might be going for the lead the first chance he gets.
Yeah, I would suspect this is the time to do it. This first time around, the lap traffic will be the thickest of, oh my goodness, the lap traffic. And whew, that green card wasn't slow. He wasn't slowing up. That's his speed. That's just the difference in speed these cars can carry here. And now the LMP3s will go on by. But man, that was a scary moment. I was really concerned they were just going to rear end him.
And that was Doug Evans coming down the hill there. And Kranifus going to be forced to wait just that little while longer. Coming up next to the Team Beef Mercedes of Roy Brown. I think he's going to be caught in a slightly easier place, though. And you're not going to be worrying too much about making that move through the corner. But look who's coming, exactly as you mentioned, Derek. It is an absolute train. The entire GT4 field is coming up here. We thought Road Atlanta only had about 12 corners, maybe 10 if you're counting differently. Now suddenly there's about 20 extra ones, and there's a Moradness Mercedes turned around in the chicane. It's not only 10A and 10B anymore, there's 10C, and it's Dean Kerr.
Yeah, it was like a moving chicane right there is what it was with Dean Kerr. He'll wait here, and in a minute he'll find a spot, hopefully, to get turned around. That looked close from this camera angle, didn't it?
That was very close for Travis Pruitt. That was a bad time to get a little wide through the chicane, but he did end up getting away with it. Cade Smith and Floyd Kerr, amidst all the chaos, they have time for an inter-GT4 battle, a little civil war of their own, as Floyd looks forward at his teammate Turner, who's on the podium. He wants to get through Cade and join the party. They're not too far away from the lead either.
Not too far at all. There's a car off on the side there of the track, luckily well out of the way. And this is LaRue and Kranifus, and now Christian Garrett's up in this battle. This is for 4th, 5th, and 6th. LaRue had, his PRL best finish last week, Joey, and started pretty well. Started P3, a little higher than we typically see LaRue start, but now Kranifus and Garrettson are starting to leave him behind.
And unfortunately, I believe he was the driver involved who spun as we were looking away. He's fallen down the order to P13. Bad luck there for Vincent LaRue. He's had his highest high. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit like some of the races we saw from him last season, where he had some bad luck early, was forced to drive through the field, and hopefully it's a similar comeback drive. But now, Kranifus and Eric Leroy are actually going to do battle here. As LaRue falls, Leroy takes it over. And Leroy's been another one of those drivers, making his PRL debut this season, coming in with the Moradness M squad, which tells you he's going to be a pretty solid driver. And he's done exactly that. He's been solid. He's been on the podium. He's been fighting for poles at times, only been a couple thousandths off. And now he's certainly set for another podium. And if something goes wrong between Duino and Drescher, which it very well could, Leroy's definitely going to be there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, right there in the catbird seat with the best seat in the house, is kind of biding his time, waiting to see what happens here. So we're about 26 minutes left here, about 25 and a half in this first race of the night. And I suspect probably in a lot of ways the calmer of the two races as far as lap traffic and incidents, I think, because these cars naturally a little slower, so you have more time to react than you will in our next race.
Brockway poking the nose out, just getting a little bit of clean air on there as Duino gets through on him and Young. Duino has had far better luck in lap traffic in these leaders in GT4 than Drescher has. That gap was literally nothing a couple of laps ago. Drescher actually had a pop at Duino in turn 1 a couple of laps ago, and now it's gone very badly for him. 3 wide coming down the hill for one of the Throttle Thursday cars. That got very, very dicey. I think that's Matt Dinsmore a couple of laps down, but dicey all the same. Floyd Kerr trying to pounce on Cade Smith into turn 1. Doors shut for him. They'll stay single file. But as I was mentioning, Derek, as Matt Dinsmore does a little bit of rallycross, Drescher has had terrible luck with the traffic. He's now lost 5 seconds to Duino. That's how quickly things can change in the traffic here.
You know, as race car drivers, for some reason, Joey, we tend to be a little bit more polite to the leader than the other traffic that's coming by us. There's another car off track there. For some reason, when you see the leader come by, you're very careful. You want to let him by. You don't want to be known as that guy who wrecks the leader. But somehow, mentally, a P2, oh no, I'll race him hard. Like, it's just that you're already a lap down, so you're not losing anything.
Oh, Cade Smith. Speaking of chicanes, that's not a moving chicane. That's a planted chicane in the middle of the road. I think Cade and Doug Sorrentino may have come together, coming down the hill there into turn 6, or into turn 5, rather. Let's see what happened. Cade and that is Doug, rather. Doug actually made the initial contact with Cade, and then coming up through turn 6 at Mercedes doesn't loop it around just yet. It loops it around as Doug comes across the track.
Yeah, there was someone already parked there, and
that was Drescher. Sorry, I think that was Drescher who got involved. It was either Drescher or Chase Wilson. It was one of those similarly painted cars, Derek, and it may have been the one that was a little bit further ahead in the field.
Yeah, it may have been. We'll take a look and see if we can find a better look at it or what may have happened. But David Duino found some open track here. Look at all that space ahead of him, Joey. Just laid down the fastest lap of the race in the LMP3. So obviously clean air is king here at this track.
It was Wilson, by the way, so if there's any Jason Drescher family and friends in the chat, don't panic. He's still good. They're not good, as that's Corey Precker or Vincent LaRue, one of the two going around. They're both painted almost identically. It is Corey Precker. He's got the white in the bottom. That was 3 wide coming down into the S's, Derek, and that very rarely works. The YS Motorsports driver trying to send it on one of the Throttle Thursday cars. That was the 77 of Greg Doucette, and that ended up 3 wide with Michael Terrafino in the GT4, and it did not end well.
You know, a lot of times, Joey, we talk about the bad luck that Corey Precker has and how it's unavoidable. I got to be honest with you, with all due respect to Corey, that one might have been avoidable, because you can't say that going 3 wide at Road Atlanta is the wisest of choices almost at any point in this track, much less through one of the corners, but just another hard week for Corey Precker with that incident.
John Romig's been having a quiet day so far in that orange LMP3, but suddenly it's going to get a little bit less quiet as here comes Vincent LaRue, here comes Greg Doucette, the 2 Hyperion drivers they're going to get by, and both very, very deep into turn 10. Both Romig and LaRue making simultaneous mistakes there. They both do get through, but only with a little bit of trouble. And now those 2 Hyperion Porsches and GT4 who they just got by, Kerr and Schroll, throw a blanket over 2 of them. Welcome Joshua Burke to the party as well in the purple Porsche.
Yeah, welcome into the party there. There's a bright multicolored LMP3 on your screen right there. See, now it looks like that's going to be LaRue trying to get around the car in front of him. One of those, man, there's a lot of battles here coming up. And that's what I love about a racetrack like this. It's nice from a traffic standpoint, Joey, to see, a bigger track, a Spa, a Nürburgring, a Le Mans, something like that, because there's less congestion. But at a track like this, there's always a battle as they're now going around this GT4. Oh, LaRue got stuck. That'll create a gap right there.
Yeah, this is the battle for the lead in GT4. Flash of the lights from Turner Schroll a little bit further back. That was Young and Brockway who they were getting through. And now it is that battle for third. The Throttle Thursday LMP3 getting a little bit frustrated. A little bit of blocking from Schroll. He can't figure out where to go. It has not been a good couple of laps for LMP3 GT4 interactions, and Turner Schroll is making that very well known with a flash of the lights. I don't know what that means in Morse code, but I think Turner's definitely angry.
Yeah, maybe not Morse code, but there's certainly a code used right there with that often of flashing that can tell you that driver is frustrated and mad and trying to send a message of its own kind here. So trying to see if he can make it around. Now he's got a little bit of clean air here, and he'll probably get up to that lap or that other bit of traffic ahead of him next by himself, so maybe he'll keep up here. Schroll will. He's got Kerr behind him, and then Joshua Burke not too far behind in that shot as well, so nice little 3-car train.
And all of this battling has actually allowed the McLaren of Ted Lowendick to join the party. He's about the 4th car in the train, just out of the precipice of draft range. Might just get there, though, with this LMP3 traffic coming through. It's been a good drive forward for Ted, up 1 spot from where he qualified, and now within touching distance of the podium. We may take an opportunity to talk to Ted a little bit later, but for now, Sean Romig and Vincent LaRue, they get the spotlight. I think we're going to see a battle here into turn 10, Derek. The draft on this back straight, it's the most important thing. Straight line speed into turn 10, the best passing opportunity on the track. The only question is, does Vincent LaRue have it as he pokes to the outside, which will become the inside into turn 10?
Yeah, I was curious if he had it. So he's had a little bit of incident earlier. I was curious if there was damage on the car, but apparently not. There's the left-hander and the right-hander now up the hill. He's got the pass completed. Now he's going to stop him. He does from getting back to the inside here as they complete this lap here through turn 12.
Yeah, book Vincent LaRue up into P9, much slower than he'd like, but still 1 spot higher from where he was. Sean Romig peeking a nose to the inside into turn 1. But that is essentially not a braking zone at all in these cars. A little lift, a little dab of the brakes. You can't really make a pass there unless you're fully side by side. And Sean very quickly realized that. Now he's got to hold back Greg Doucette to hang on to the last spot in the top 10. Had a little bit of trouble in GT4, and I don't believe it's actually trouble. I believe it's Nathan Jennings coming down pit lane. We are about to halfway in this race, Derek. It's kind of flown by so far. We're going to have to start thinking about pit stops before too long. Michael Doyle's not thinking about it just yet as he's side-by-side with one of the more Adness Mercedes, but they'll all have to do some pit stops soon. So let's resolve this first.
Yeah, this is a great battle right here. This is with Michael Doyle and Sessions, as you said, and there's that inside corner for that bright almost polka dotted black car there. Oh, an LMP3, no.
That's Duino. That's the race leader trying to figure out where to go.
Man.
He does get through, but that was very dicey. And there goes about a second of time he had made up on Drescher. Still has quite the buffer. Still has 4.5 seconds. And somehow Doyle and Sessoms are running side by side through the entirety of the S's. It's been phenomenal racing from them two. It's just not going to be fast, unfortunately.
No, it's not going to be fast at all. I'm still stuck on that move that Duino made as a leader. Oh, I was really concerned for his fate there. And now here's our first car down at pit road, or maybe our second that I can see. That's Sean Romig here coming down pit road. And I want to talk about pit road as well for a second, Joey, if we ever get a shot of it. That entry to pit road, to me, is probably the most difficult entry we do in all of road racing.
Yeah, it's heavy braking zone, downhill, a little bit of a chicane. We've seen many drivers crash there. We've seen many drivers get a speeding penalty there. Nick Taylor to the inside of Greg Doucette in turn 6. Speaking of places where drivers can crash, it didn't end in a crash that time, but that level of send does very often end in a crash, and Nick Taylor is not done going for it. He's going to be looking to make the move into turn 10 now.
Yeah, we'll see if we can make the move here happen. Now they're going to be 3 wide down the straight here. And looks like the LMP3, of course, will make the LMP3s will make the pass here. Makes them 2 wide through turns 10 and A and 10B. And now up the hill. Now right here off this hill to screen left. Very suddenly is where that pit road entrance is. It's very sudden. It's almost hard to even signal to your fellow drivers you're pitting because of how fast that entry comes up on you.
And Calvin Myant, latest driver to take down pit lane. So he's going to be hoping not to become a foul of the pit lane entry there. There he is, getting, I believe, normal service. I don't see any kind of extended pit stop from him. I think that'll be fairly straightforward. Just remember that name as or that number rather, as Calvin Myant's name ticks around. That should be an average pit stop time to potentially consider. Back to Turner Schroll and Floyd Kerr, though, the Hyperion Racing Civil War. It's not a civil war on track anymore. Schroll bites first. He's coming down pit lane on his own.
Yeah, you saw it kind of got to the track side and kind of down the hill, so he'll give up that lead there. And not that lead, but sorry about that spot there to his teammate. And now come down pit road at a very, very slow 45 miles per hour. Anytime a race is under green flag conditions, as all road courses are in the PRL, oh man, that feels like forever getting down pit road at that speed.
LaRue and Nicholas Karangis going at it. It has been a very, very popular day for Throttle Thursday. We've been seeing a lot of their cars, and this time it's Nicholas Karangis winning out in the battle against LaRue. I don't think it's over, though, because Vincent is continuing to look forward. I think he remembers very early on when he started on the second row alongside Eric Leroy. He could have been in the fight for the podium, and he's at least trying to resolve maybe a top 6, maybe a top 5 from all of this. As there's 15 minutes left to go to make as many passes as he can. Greg Doucette is down pit lane, and a couple of others, so the order in LMP3 not as accurate as it will be at the end of the race. In GT4, it's a little bit messed up as well with Turner Schroll coming down pit lane, but the pit window is very much open. It'll all be resolved soon. Greg Doucette and one of the black and white cars may have gotten into some trouble, and it may have been with the Porsche of Robert McGeehan. Oh, it was with the curb of Kerbert McGeehan.
It was with the curb. It was almost.
And one of the Moradness cars coming onto the scene says, I want a bite of this too.
Yeah, lots of weird action right there. Started with the GT4 going off track, and he kind of almost half followed him, and then just went downhill from there. So that'll require some repairs on pit road. The question would be what damage was done to that Moradness car. I would think he'll need to get some repairs done, or he'll be slowing off pace for the next 14 minutes.
I could not tell you which Moradness car that was. I don't know if it's not Leroy. I know that much. He's still okay in third. Presumably it was David Stevenson, but it is a grand mystery as pit stops continue in LMP3. Christian Garreton Eisler's down pit lane. Chase Wilson's down pit lane. Almost the entirety of the GT4 field is in, only leaving Brockway, Lowendick, and Young out on track. It's all kicking off, Derek. It's all starting to resolve itself. I think we might see everybody down pit lane either this lap or the next lap, and then we can go all out 100% to the end of the race.
Yeah, and I like what these drivers are doing that are still out here. They're taking advantage of this clean air. They know they're not going to get a whole lot of it during this race. Why not stay out here, turn some faster laps, get some clean air in front of you? Because with all those guys coming down pit road together, that means they're all coming off of pit road together. they're not going to have that clean track to take advantage of. So it's probably a mix of that desire, and maybe these guys fuel saved a little bit better, got an extra lap to squeeze out through all that drafting. But man, Vincent up to P4, of course, that's an inflated number due to the pit stops. But for someone who did, have that spin earlier and was down to P10, P11, even probably naturally a P8 right now is a good return run.
Brockway's down pit lane, Lowendick's down pit lane. You have to imagine that Aiden Young does not have to pit. He's made his pit stop, but let's watch Brockway, let's watch Lowendick, let's hopefully watch the blend, because this is going to be the battle for the lead in GT4 and the battle for the podium in GT4. Brockway still in the box. It's an agonizingly long time. It is only 15 seconds, though, and luckily for him, that box is going to be at the head of pit lane. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to see it, but Aiden Young, coming around turn 1, is going to be able to retake the lead from Adam Brockway in GT4. It's very close, though, Derek. Less than a second separate these two. Ted Lowendick's going to fall off the podium. He might slot into P4, though. An excellent pit cycle for Lowendick. Yeah,
so we'll wait and see how long it takes Aiden Young's tires to come up to speed here, and if that matters at all, going to have an LMP3 all around him. He'll hopefully let him by here through the corner. He does. Nice job there.
And that early pit stop for Turner Schroll, remember, he was the first of the GT4s to come in from third. It has not gone his way whatsoever. He's fallen down to fifth behind Ted Lowendick. So that's going to be a very, very aggressive battle, I think, Derek, for P4 between Lowendick and Schroll. The Porsche versus the McLaren. The Porsche has tended to be the car that most of the field has gone for, but who's leading this race? Two Mercedes of Young and Brockway. I don't know where that leaves Ted Lowendick. I don't know where that leaves the McLaren in that equation.
Yeah, the McLaren often is a very sneaky car as far as where it finishes, because not a lot of drivers use it or want to use it, and so therefore, you're often surprised when you see one up in the top 5, and Ted, of course, is a very strong candidate of someone to drive that car well and make a good run at it. Here's Aiden Young on your screen getting passed by a faster class car and letting him by in a pretty safe spot there through turn 12 or 13 or 11, depending on your view of corners.
David Steveson has made quite the run. I'm not sure if he's actually made a pit stop yet. He might have one more lap to do so. Carangis is down pit lane. His teammate Greg Doucette is also in with him, and a whole host of others. This is essentially the rest of the field, other than Steveson, I believe. So the order should be correct in a very near moment. Fans of Ted Lowendick are going to be very sad as Turner Schroll's gotten by him. I think one of the Rob Clark crew went off in the background there. And David Duino, Derek, your race leader, is down pit lane. Jason Drescher's down pit lane as well. Didn't they already make their stops?
I was thinking so. I was about to say the same thing to you. I was like, didn't these guys already come down? I was confused, so I'm not sure.
It could have been some kind of graphical glitch. They may have not made their pit stops at all, and also we may have forgotten what happened about 5 minutes ago, but I could have sworn these guys made their stops already. But I think our answer is that they did not actually make their stops yet. That was a lie. This is their only official stop. Duino makes his stop. Drescher makes his stop. Leroy makes his stop. No issues whatsoever. These are scheduled. Just a little bit of confusion.
Okay, well, there you go. If one of them would have come down, you could have believed it could have been a penalty or a pit error, but for the fact it was both of them leads you to believe it probably was, in fact, their only stop. You see 10.3 seconds in the box and 32.4 overall delta for David Duino. That's a great number for him and helps him hold on to the lead. See David there, focused in. Nice big widescreen monitors. Not sure if that's one big monitor. That curved monitor is hard to tell from that camera angle, but tell it's a big monitor.
I imagine it's one big monitor. We do have some other cameras, if I'm not mistaken. I think we might have a Ted Lowendick camera. I'm not sure if we'll be able to see it, but I hope we can in the last 10 minutes. We may have a Ted Lowendick camera. We may have a... who else usually gives us a camera? We might have a Doug Evans camera. He's done it a couple times. We might have a Sean Campbell camera in the GTP LMP2 series coming up a little bit later, but we may have to wait for all of those. Jason Drescher gives us a camera sometimes too.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see what other cameras come up here. But in the meantime, Eric Leroy, and Daniel Cranfish are having a great battle here up the hill here and now back down the hill. And this is a track that's, of course, well known. It's about 53 years old, Joey. It's been immortalized in multiple sims and video games, so these drivers should have a lot of familiarity with this track. This is not one of our newer tracks where you're kind of unsure of it. In fact, as you said in the opening, we run this place every year, at least once, for the Petit Le Mans.
And this is a place where rhythm and practice are rewarded. So if you're Jason Drescher, who we do get to see in that beautiful, beautiful rig with the purple lighting to match his car as well, that's fantastic stuff. This is a place where every lap you run, you're going to get faster. It is a place where
massive
rhythm is rewarded more than anywhere else.
I'm not sure that was like an official Steam Deck or a humongous button box there. That's my first time seeing Jason set up, so I'm sorry for being a little enamored there. But that was truly impressive. That massive monitor was like the size of my bed, I think.
I can only imagine how much it cost.
More than my bed?
Probably. Me too. I got one of those like Target bed frames. It's probably about $50.
Yeah.
Then Daniel Cranifus and Eric Leroy. Oh, a little bit of a hip check from Cranifus on one of the Moradness Mercedes. I think that's Barry Sessoms. He's not going to be too happy about that one, but yeah, still side by side coming down the hill. Cranifus to the inside, Leroy on the outside. This is the battle for the podium. It's not a battle anymore as Cranifus does take the podium. Gets by the lap car of Gary Gainsel too for good measure.
A little bit of hip check behind Cranifus right there as well. You saw it coming down that straight there, but now Cranifus is going to pass by the GT4 to start another lap here with about 7.5 minutes to go on the clock here. So this race really has flown by with very minimal incidents. This was a concern I had of mine tonight, was going to be, would this be another incident-filled wreck or race, pardon me? But they've done pretty well at keeping this clean.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of incident-filled wrecks so far today, but they've actually been fairly contained. We've had like one or two with multiple cars, and other than that, you're exactly right. It's been pretty clean. It's been pretty good stuff. But there are 7 minutes left. Don't want to jinx ourselves. It is the LMP3 GT4 challenge. We've seen many crazy things happen in this series over the last couple of seasons. But for the lead, it seems like it may be resolved unless there is some of that lap traffic trouble. Duino with a 7-second lead in LMP3. Aiden Young with almost a 4-second lead down in GT4. Both of these battles were very, very close before the pit cycle, Derek, but amidst all that traffic, amidst all that difference in pit strategy, these two guys have really taken themselves above the rest of the field.
Yeah, look at that camera shot. It shows exactly how big the gap is there between Young and Brockway. And Young's just having a great time here. And then you see Jason Drescher, by the way, trying to run down Duino. Has now set the new fastest lap of the race up at the top of your screen here. We're watching other battles within the cars here. And just things are kind of calm. Now things are spread out. People are now trying to see what they have left in the car.
Oh, Eric Leroy trying to make a move around the outside into the S's. He's trying to take the podium back. Not able to do so, but he had a run. I think that may have been a bobble from Cranifus, and there's an even bigger bobble from Cranifus coming out of turn 6 into the concrete wall. There goes the podium for Cranifus, and there goes the race. He toes back immediately.
Yeah, there goes everything for him. He hits that wall. That's why he towed. The car, I'm sure, was dead, so that'll get rid of his podium, and any real shot he had at a good result here.
Turn 5 at Road Atlanta might be the most difficult corner. I mean, honestly, it's one of the most difficult corners in sim racing as a whole, in real-life racing as well, with that massive curb, with the difference in the elevation of the curb and the asphalt, with the difference of friction with the curb and the asphalt, with the elevation change just of the track. Turn 5 at Road Atlanta, it'll bite you very, very quickly, and unfortunately, Daniel Cranifus, the latest victim of that. Look at this train in LMP3, though. LaRue, Carangis, and a couple of others. Christian Garreton leading the train. Ian Starker, a lapped car in front of the train as well. This could get very, very interesting. Where does Starker decide to go? He's not racing these guys for position. He has no reason to fight them. Oh, dear. And I think that was Nick Taylor somehow going the wrong way down the hill.
Yeah, you saw that in the background there. Saw a car just kind of spinning around and touching the grass there. So now LaRue's going to keep the lead of this group right here and come start another lap here up through turn 1. Man, LaRue's really only one spot away from a top 5 tonight. For someone who had that moment where he spun earlier and fell down, I think, the 10th or 11th, this is a great rally for him, regardless if he finishes 5th or 6th here in the last 4.5 minutes. And just a pretty solid comeback. He must really have the speed and the confidence at Road Atlanta that he's not had at other tracks so far.
I think you need to talk to the Tabula Rasa livery designers, because I think by painting his car like Corey Precker, he's kind of accidentally done a little bit of a voodoo doll situation to himself.
Yeah,
exactly. He's got to do the same comeback races.
Vincent has 5 other colors available in the Tabula Rasa Esports garage he could pick. So maybe we'll need to talk to him about maybe picking the blue or the purple or the red or the orange for next week's race.
Do it. Get him in. Big slide from Calvin Myant. I don't know if he saved it. No, he didn't. There's your answer. Hit the concrete. That's an awkward place to lose it. Coming out of turn 7, fairly low speed corner, but Calvin not able to save it on the throttle, locks up the brakes, and lets go of the brakes for some reason and gets himself into the wall.
think he got a little too excited about trying to just, I guess, catch or pass the car in front of him, and just probably got on the gas pedal a little too early out of that corner. But you're right, all the places we've seen incidents so far tonight, that was pretty low on my list of somewhere to see an incident happen, especially single car.
I don't think we've seen this car all day, basically. Samuel Ma has had a very quiet run to P11, and that car is totally clean, which is better than most of his competitors can say. So well done on Samuel, driver who's been around the PRL for a little while. I feel like we usually see him in open wheel competition, whether it's Formula 4 cars, Formula 3, but taking on an LMP3 car this season, putting a roof over his head for the first time. And if he can keep it on the track for 3 more minutes, he'll be coming home with a perfectly clean day in, I believe, his first race of the season.
Yeah, maybe while not an actual victory, definitely a moral victory. If you can leave this race, or really any multi-class LMP3 GT4 race with a clean car, that's a moral victory in some ways. Going to now get around this GT4. Don't ruin it here. We just gave you praise.
Good stuff. That was the 420 of Mr. Jennings, and that was easier than it went last time we had an LMP3 car trying to pass a Jennings. This time it was number 420, and this time it was totally okay.
Yeah, I don't need that field goal kicker curse on my name, so please don't do that here and mess that up here.
Vincent Leroux getting by Jerome Berthiaume in the first Porsche, then getting by the Flying Ostrich Adam Ostrich in the next Porsche. A little bit of smoke in the background, no harm, no foul. And next up is the last of the Hyperion Echelon Porsches. That was Joshua Burke in the foreground there, and Christian Garatone down pit lane. I don't know if these two were related, Derek, but Burke and Christian Garatone both running into trouble simultaneously, and there's your answer. They were absolutely related coming down the S's.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joey, it's not the summertime, it's not the Paris Olympics, but that was synchronized, almost synchronized swimming right there. That was pretty nicely timed, synchronized spins there down through the S's, and that will change up the order for everybody a little bit in both classes. In fact, Garatone, I'm pretty sure, was running either P4 or P5 at the moment of that incident.
And Vincent Leroux, somehow, some way, has gotten himself into the top 5. And just as I say that, Nicholas Carangis, I think, has gotten by him to drop him down. And just as I say that, Leroux gets back by him. It is an absolute calamity for Vincent Leroux today. I don't know what more you can say. If anything, he's been entertaining. He's been entertained as well in the cockpit. He has had no time to rest in this race. He's either been at the back of the field and driving his way forward, and now suddenly he is in the top 5. He does get to hang on to P5 for the moment, and he just gets to focus on this likely final lap or second to last lap. And Coran just throws it off the road. What was I saying, Derek? As soon as he gets a little bit of comfort, he's going to be even more comfortable. He can't have a boring day today.
No, not at all. That was like he just missed a corner right there is what happened in the background of that shot. So, man, you're right. If there was a stat for most cars passed in a race, Leroux would have to be up there tonight in that category. But here's your race leader and potential winner, David Duino, doing a great job here in the number 5 machine. And there's Barney. You saw the white flag in the background of that shot. So one more time around here at this racetrack.
This was a driver we all had circled when he came back this season. He was with us, as I mentioned, a couple of seasons ago, won a race, but wasn't here last season, took the season off, probably focusing on whatever he was focusing on, was racing in Ivra as well, but now he's back in the PRL as a driver with so much success in this type of car, and this could be a huge day for David Duino. Really put himself in the championship conversation. Aiden Young, I mean, he already put himself in the championship conversation last week when he won, but this week, he could put himself potentially as the favorite ahead of Adam Brockway in that fiercely forward Mercedes. That could be a big statement from him. Here is David Duino, though, getting through the last stragglers in the traffic. Ian Starker throwing it off the road in a straight, but Duino a 2-second margin over Jason Drescher. He does have 2 more cars to pass, so that might not be insurmountable, but he does get by one of them. He's going to get by Roy Brown to turn 10 as well, and that's going to be enough of a buffer, I think, to make David Duino totally comfortable. Through turn 10A, through turn 10B. Why is it 2 corners, or why is it not 2 corners? I couldn't really tell you, but what I can tell you is it's a good day to be David Duino. He's going to NC State, he's going to study aerospace engineering, and he rockets forward and wins at Road Atlanta. Total domination. Somebody call SpaceX, somebody call NASA, because that was certainly a rocket ship of a car. And David Duino gets his first win of the season, his second in the PRL, They're wrecking down the S's. I think they still need to finish that lap, so they better make sure they finish that. And speaking of rocketing forward, fiercely forwards, Aiden Young won his first race in the PRL last week in his GT4 exploits this season, and now he's going to do it again. 2 for 2 for Aiden Young. 2 wins out of the opening 3 races for the fiercely forward driver. Oh, and don't get yourself a penalty for getting an incident point. That was very close. That was so close.
Yeah. I was trying to say, don't do that. Well, it was almost really scary there for the moment. Man, both winners did a great job tonight, Joey. Those were nice, big, wide open gaps for both drivers, both comfortable on their last lap.
And did you like all of my my forced rocket references there?
I was ready for a different one. I thought we were going back to basketball with the WNBA draft. I was ready for free throws and slam dunks and layups, and then no, you got it. You nailed it.
I'll just say rocket a couple more times. That'll hopefully make it better. Rocket. Aerospace.
Like the raccoon?
Carbon fiber.
Oh, I thought the raccoon.
Maybe. David Duino, your victor. Rocket. At Road Atlanta over Jason Drescher, who, I mean, I think a couple of laps ago, Jason Drescher was about 7 seconds off. That was a phenomenal rally in the second stint to make that gap only about 2.5 seconds at the end of it all. And Eric Leroy, the quietest race of anybody, got to third early on, had no trouble whatsoever, and comes out with a podium yet again. Chase Wilson, P4, quiet day for him as well, but an excellently quiet day for him. And Vincent Leroux, possibly the opposite of a quiet day, but comes home with P5. He's going to be very happy with that. Then Nick Taylor, P6 to the number 99. David Stevenson, once again, for the fans of numbers, 777 in P7. It was meant to be. Nicholas Carangis, P8. Calvin Mayant, P9. And Samuel Ma, in his season debut, potentially his closed-roof car debut, ends in the top 10. Excellent stuff from him. Scotty Angelo, I think, was the Moradness driver we saw get into trouble quite a few laps ago, but he still finished 1 lap down in P11. Then Precker, Mulholland, Gainsel, Garreton, and Starker rounded out the LMP3 field, at least the ones that finished ahead of the GT4s. Your winner in GT4 was Mr. Aiden Young, and Adam Brockway followed him. Floyd Kerr rounded out the podium after jumping his Hyperion teammate Turner Schroll. Ted Lowendick, P4, Arnaud Genet, P5, Supreme Court Justice William Brennan, former Supreme Court Justice, I should say, was P7. Got to do a little bit of math in my head here. I'm not going to be able to do that, so I'll just say Ostrich, Bertiome, Terrafino, Tobin, Branch, Burke, and Brown bring us down to the end of the GT4 cars that had no damage, or at least a little bit of damage. They were fairly clean, because after that, we do get into the used car lot very quickly. After Barry Sessoms, after Jean-Sebastien Bédard, Michael Doyle, Will Jennings, Dean Kerr, Doug Evans, and Robert McGeehan, I think, were the last cars that had no trouble whatsoever. Travis Pruitt was in there with a little bit of trouble. Matt Dinsmore ended up 6 laps down in his LMP3, as did Sean Romig, and this is officially the used car lot. Nathan Jennings had some damage, Max Stevenson had some damage, Doug Sorrentino, Cade Smith, and I don't believe Dan Willis ever got off the start in the first place. So lots of mixed emotions, lots of mixed luck amidst those 47 cars, some very high highs, some very low lows, and the highest high of them at all, what's the word for a highest high? Apogee? Is that the word? Maybe I'll have to ask David Duino, because we've got him here. Mr. David Duino, it's been a very good day for you so far. You're going to go do some aerospace engineering stuff at NC State. You're going to go do some rocketry, and now you're a winner in the PRL again. Is it possible to get any better than that?
Not very much. It's been a really good couple of days, I'll say that much.
I can only imagine. So I'm not going to ask you about the race anymore, because you did all your talking on the track. You won. You were untouchable. Blah, blah, blah. Why aerospace engineering? What's the passion there? Tell us about it.
My dad's an aerospace major, and then I really want to work in racing, and aerodynamics is probably the best place to go. I already do a bunch of stuff with karting, so if you look at my helmet in iRacing, actually I have my karting team that I help out on there as well. But so I just use that to get into racing as my pathway.
There you go. We always say fighter jet or race cars are like fighter jets on wheels. Did you put your sim racing success on your college application?
I didn't, but I did say I do race competitively online, so I did kind of put it on there.
I'm betting that's why you got it. I'm betting there. Also, Derek would like me to tell you that your performance today was out of this world. It's another rocket joke.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, when you watch this back, I really forced the rocket reference.
Oh, I'm so glad.
David, congratulations on this win. Congratulations on everything, and we'll see if you can do it again next week. Make it even better.
All right. See you guys then. Oh, I want to give a quick shout out to Dane Baird, the legendary producer himself. I said I had to give out a shout out to him, so
don't let those happen. We don't let Dane shout-outs happen. That's David Duino. I'm kicking him out of here before he can do any more. That was your race winner. We do like Dane Bear. Don't worry. We'll go down to GT4, though. Aiden Young was your winner in GT4, and for the second week in a row, he gets to talk to Derek Watson.
Oh, well. This is becoming a bit of a pattern here, Aiden. Congrats on the win here in GT4. What was it like out there tonight?
It was a very hot track, so it made my car very loose. But because my car was so loose, that's why it was so fun to drive. But not only that, my practicing paid off. I put in so many hours to practice because I knew Road Atlanta was going to be a hot track, and the Mert kind of struggles on a hot track. But I also knew that, one, I went into this race, I was leading the championship. If I want to try and cement my championship lead even further, I have to win more or get on the podium more times. So, I just pushed as hard as I could. Didn't really have the best qualifying. I messed up the chicane. May or may not have been pole if I hadn't messed up the chicane, but that is what it is. That's qualifying. That's done deal. The race is really what matters, and to walk away with a win with the gap like that, it's definitely a big confidence booster. And shout out to my team for watching and supporting me. What they say, special teams, special plays.
Yeah, that is what they say indeed. Well, Aiden, great job tonight, and next week we'll see if you can do it 3 for 3.
Yep, see you next week.
All right, have a good night.
Aiden Young, the fiercely forward driver. We're going to look fiercely forward into the field as well. We'll take a trip up to LMP3 land for a quick chat with our 2 other podium sitters. Bring them both in simultaneously. Jason Drescher, we'll come to you first. Second place today, but that final stint, I think it started, you were about 7 seconds off the lead. It ended only about 2 seconds off the lead. How was that charge forward at the end?
Yeah, I was getting a little hopeful there for a minute, but yeah, I didn't have the pace. I kind of messed up qualifying a little bit, driver's excuses. And yeah, I started second, and traffic really kind of messed me up in the first stint. I lost about 6-7 seconds just in traffic down the S's, but it was a good comeback drive, and I'm happy with my pace and got the fastest lap, so we'll continue that momentum.
And Eric, I'll come to you as well, the third driver on the podium. We've had Jason winning the first 2 races of the season. We had David Duino winning tonight, but you've been in contention. You've been on the podium every week so far. What's it like being the third wheel? When are you going to give them some trouble next week?
Oh, man, I hope so. They're so fast. First of all, huge shout out to my team, the Maradness M Squad. This car was so foreign to me a couple of months ago, and they really showed me everything I know about this car and how to drive it. So it's been amazing to learn with those guys. Yeah, tonight was, if there's such thing as a disappointing podium, I think this was it. I also messed up qualifying. I felt like I had pace to compete for pole, and then traffic is hit or miss. So you start to gain on people, and then all of a sudden you lose a few seconds because you catch traffic at a bad spot. But it was a really fun race. Road Atlanta's great, and yeah, looking forward to continuing to improve, hopefully.
We're looking forward to the rest of this championship battle. We got all 3 of you guys very strong. So Jason and Eric, get your practice in for Imola next week, and we'll see you then.
Oh, I'm ready.
Jason's ready. Jason's ready. Eric's ready. We'll talk to them next week. But we got one more driver before we get into GTP LMP2 action. Mr. Floyd Kerr was third in GT4, and he's talking to Derek as well.
Floyd, what a great run tonight here around this very tight and compact Road Atlanta course. Was there ever a moment when you thought you had this open track ahead of you?
No, not really. To be honest, this good job to my teammate, the Turner's Roll, for putting on the podium, because this week has been a bit tough with these cars, the Porsche around Road Atlanta. So it was good to see that we had pace for sure, but the traffic was just very difficult to navigate. Lose a lot of time, not really a lot of room to make it up. So definitely glad that we eventually got a Hyperion car still on the podium.
Yeah, it's a great thing to see. So I'm going to ask you, right now we can tell you there's 0% chance of rain in our next race with the GTPs, LMP2s. But are you excited for the day when rain comes to LMP3 GT4 races, or is that a bit of something you're dreading?
I think so. It depends. Depends on how the LMP3s handle in it, to be honest. But I think the GT4s will be fun cars to drive in that.
All right. Well, listen, great job on the P3 tonight, and we'll see you next week at Imola.
was Floyd Kerr, Hyperion Racing's own, and a winner in the PRL in his own right. Wouldn't be surprised to see him return to doing that this season. Maybe he'll do it at Imola. In the dry this time, Derek. We had enough fun at wet Imola in the GTP and LMP2 series last week. It'll be dry this week, or it'll be dry next week, rather, and hopefully it'll be that little bit less chaotic.
Yeah, maybe so, because it'll just be a little, we'll have to wait and see how Imola treats it. We were already there, last week for the other classes for the GTP LMP2. Man, GTP LMP2, that's hard to say back-to-back without getting your tongue turned around.
It is a lot of T's, a lot of P's, but luckily, we do get to say Road Atlanta twice. We don't have to twist ourselves at all because we don't leave this track. We stay here. We just put 2 new classes on it because now it's time for the top level on Monday nights. GTP, LMP2, high-level prototype racing back in the PRL for yet another season. We're so happy to be here. Joey Tebbin's still with you. Derek Watson's still with you. Ramiro's still behind the scenes on production duty. And what a season it's been so far for these high-level prototypes. Algarve to kick it off, a new track. Was a pretty straightforward day. Sean Campbell won dominantly. Then the Imola circuit second last week. As I mentioned, it was a full wet race. Probably more wet than it should have been. It would have been a red flag in real life. They wouldn't have let the race happen, but we had to do it anyway because it's sim racing and you can't get hurt. Sean Campbell did end up winning dominantly anyway, and it has shaken up the championship just a little bit deeper in the order. Michael Diaz had a good day in the wet. He's up to P2. Nathan Ray, third in the Drivers' Championship there. Then Jeff Evans was P4. Keep reading you through. Mitchell Johnson, P5. 2 consistent drivers in Evans and Johnson. They're going to be rewarded on consistency this season, I can only imagine. Bergstrom, Holly, Schwartz, Olsen, and Pelshaw round out the top 10. Pat Pelshaw missing last week after an injury. I hope we'll see him back this week. Then Whataback Racing actually lead the GTP team standings, kind of shockingly, but that tells you that consistency is rewarded. Because once again, Race Clutch, Sean Campbell's team, one of the top-level teams in sim racing, they're not actually competing for the team's championship because they only have one driver named Sean Campbell, and he can't win the team's championship single-handedly, even though I know he absolutely wants to. Whataback will be fighting for the team's championship. Moradness will be fighting for the team's championship with both of their teams, and Precision Racing Esports will as well. They've had a tough start to the season. They've had some bad luck, some DNFs, some missed races, but you'll definitely see Diaz, Ovando, Bartley, Pelshaw, and Daniel Zegers moving their way forward and fighting for that team's championship. I don't know how Fiercely Forward ended up on negative 15 points. I think that might have been because of Dayton Lowe's penalty, but I'll ask about that. Points in LMP2, again, I should mention, not entirely accurate. Still waiting for the spreadsheet gods to update the scores to make sure that the points are being given out correctly for the lower category. But for now, I think Rob Campbell will still be in the lead of the LMP2 championship. Hasn't won a race this season, but was very fast both weeks, and consistency, what did I say? It's always rewarded. It was Alex Crow that won last week in the wet. It was Jack Hedgecox that won in week 1, but do you see those guys in the top 10? No, you don't, because Alex Crow didn't compete in week 1. Jack Hedgecox crashed in week 2. It's been very flippy-floppy through there. Then in the team standings, speaking of the flip-flopping, it's going to be very close in this as well, with Lunatic, with Hyperion, with the Dunder Mifflin Racing Company, which is just, a fun group of drivers with John Krauser and Matt Jansen, just putting together a fun name and racing for fun, but they could be in the championship fight. Go in Racing with Jack Hedgecox, they're absolutely going to be in the championship fight, as will SRT, as will the Moradness M Squad, and who knows, even Sapphire, Riley, and Baseline rounding out the top 10. They could be in the fight over the course of the season. Who knows? But we will take you into qualifying now for GTP and LMP2, Derek, because we can finally do that. And finally, in this series, it's not soaking wet. We're finally dry again.
Yeah, we are, right? It's very good for this track, maybe in some ways, that it's not raining. That's uphill, downhill. Those crests of those hills would be treacherous if it were raining. I tell you what, next week, I'm a masochist. I'm rooting for rain next week, by the way. I know that makes me a bad person. Long Beach is next week. If it doesn't rain, I'm going to be kind of heartbroken.
I would be very happy. I mean, it's right next to the ocean. You can get clouds formed. You can get anything formed through there. So I hope that does happen. You saw a little peek of the qualifying order, the current standings so far. Sean Campbell, surprise, surprise, on pole. How many laps has that guy turned at Road Atlanta? It probably is a 4-digit number. And Alex Caruso and Alex Crow, once again, it might not be wet like it was in Imola last week, but both of them very fast in LMP2 as well. We'll get that order shown to you when we can, but for now, Derek, Only a couple minutes left in qualifying. Gotta get 100%. Make every 10th you can. It's always difficult at Road Atlanta. It's a rhythm track.
It's a rhythm track, right? And it's a track where you never have a moment to really stop and breathe. As you see, this camera shot we got right here, there's a corner everywhere. You know, I say that sort of sarcastically, but sort of not. Like, you know, maybe there's a one long straight here, you know, technically between 7 and 9, where you can kind of stop and breathe for a second. But you're always doing something here. So if you break your rhythm in turn 1 or turn 2, it's just a long lap around this historic racetrack.
And it's a place where, I mentioned it's a rhythm track. I mentioned it's a track where practice is rewarded. And that's just because more than any other track, there's so many high-speed corners, Derek. There's so many places where there's literally one groove, one line. So it's not a place that you can just hop in with little practice and be fast. It's not a place where you can really use your sensibilities and just hop in. It's a place where you really need to practice. You need to know where to be, and you need to know where the limits of the track are. And that just takes a lot of time to finally get the Road Atlanta groove.
And looking forward a little bit to the end of this year when we do have Petit Le Mans here at Road Atlanta, thinking that's going to be in October in iRacing. If it does rain in that race, that's going to create chaos. It won't rain today. We're just kind of looking ahead for a second because, as you said, one line, one groove, you know, one spot to go on this racetrack. The rain could wipe that away and make that very, very slick and very, very undrivable. And therefore, you know, that rain could really create chaos here at a track like Road Atlanta. I can tell you right now, just for the record, while we're getting things rebooted and set up here, Sean Campbell, of course, still has a pole by not that much, only about, less than 1/10 of a second over Nathan Olson in the the GTPs. I'll get these correct eventually.
Yeah, apologies for the technical difficulties. We will get everything resolved before the race begins, but for now, as we are in a little bit of a holding pattern, why don't we take this opportunity to talk to the driver who is on pole? We didn't get to talk to Ted in the previous race, so we'll drag him in as well. Why not? We're in a little bit of a holding pattern as qualifying comes to an end, waiting for some technical difficulties to be resolved. So Sean Campbell, yet again, you're on pole, but not by that much. It's only a couple of thousandths over Nathan Olson.
I don't know if Nathan's still going for his lap yet. I don't know how long it's been.
Do you think he could beat you?
Well, if he does one more, yeah. I believe he might not be doing, though, because
he's not on track currently, I can tell you that.
Then, yeah, no, it's over, I suppose.
So, track position, obviously important. I don't think I can remember a time when you've been in the lead or starting from pole that you've lost a race in the PRL, but does that worry you a little bit when he's that close, when he's within touching distance? Do you think this could be a close one?
It's close. I think, though, I don't want to jinx it, but, you know, if you lead into turn 1 in the LMDH in almost every single track in the entire game, you will, it's like 90-10 that second place, or that first place will win. It's just, you can't, there's no reason to sit right behind the guy in front of you in LMDH because you'll burn your front tires up. So probably what you're going to see here, especially here, is everybody's going to slow down and give each other a 1 second gap, essentially, because that's where the dirty air ends just about. And it'll have to be a game of the pit stops, unless somebody makes a mistake.
I don't remember why I dragged Ted in here, but we do have Mr. Ted Lowendick, your fifth or sixth place finisher in GT4 a couple of moments ago. Ted, do you think Sean's going to win?
I don't know.
Is Ted here with us? Is Ted alive?
I don't know if Ted's here. He might.
This may have been a mistake. This is why we don't drag drivers in who were in the previous race, because sometimes they just die and disappear. But that's okay. We'll see if Ted's alive in a couple of moments. But Sean, you got like 15 seconds to get ready. What are we doing? Are we doing a rhythm or some kind of superstition, or are we just ready to go?
Gonna try and be ready to go.
Jumping jacks, crossing your fingers.
Nah, I don't know. I got all my bad luck out during the Road America 500, so I should go.
Well, I'll drop Sean Campbell back in with his potentially dead friend, and we're ready to go racing here, Derek. In just a couple of moments, it is time. It's time for GTP. It's time for LMP2. I'm not sure if I have the grid, Derek, so I may have to fall back on you. I think you might have do you have the sim open?
I do. Let's do it. Let's get the grid here, starting with the GTPs. Sean Campbell's in P1 with Nathan Olson next to him on row number 1. Mitchell Johnson and Alec Bergstrom in row number 2. Dayton Lowe and Boris Ovando in row number 3. That's your top 6. Daniel Zeggers and Kwok Nin. Round out your top 8 with Michael Diaz and Zachary Deus, P9 and P10. John Rice and Casey O'Brien, 11th and 12th, with Nicholas Schwartz and Nathan Ray up through 14th. Jeff Evans, who's racing, his dad did earlier, he's 15th, pardon me. And Bradley Holly, PRL veteran, will start P16. Johnny Luma and Karsten Quint, 17, 18. And then the last 2 on the GTPs, Nikos Zandakis. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. P19. And Darian Roy is P20. There are 20 GTPs in this
fun.
field.
I like the free form grid. We should do this more often.
Yeah, we should do this. Derek should practice the names first. LMP2s. We got Alex Caruso up on the pole at 108.880. Jack Hedgecox, by the way, at 109.004. So pretty close together with P1, P2. Alex Crow, Joshua Chinsky up through P4. Eddie Layton and Matt Carroll, P5, P6. Caleb Lehman and Dino Vela are next there, with Tyler Peter Richards and Rob Campbell. Then Andrew Wood and Anthony Dring. Luke Wallace and John Krauser. Josh Gowan and Craig Bray. Edward Vartazian and Chip Michaels. Marco Jansen and John Leedy. Andrew Venaro, Jeff Fisherman, Nathan Mon, and Daniel Trinka round out this field here, totaling 44 cars in all here in this race.
That is a large field, 3 cars shorter than the LMP3 GT4 race just a couple of moments ago, but that doesn't really matter, Derek, because these are faster vehicles. They physically take up more of the track. This is going to feel even more hectic than I think a 47-car race would.
Yeah, I would say that's probably true with the speeds here and how quick the dive bombs can happen into these corners. I think this will be a little bit more treacherous than our last race. I do agree that's probably the correct sentiment there at Road Atlanta. So much the same, a 45-minute race, a little longer than the last one. Pit stops still required. Patience still required. Look at that. Oh, a much cooler track. Look at that. 94 degrees. In fact, it's earlier in the day. We have somehow traveled back in time. As the legend of Cher said, Joey, if I could turn back time, well, they did.
I wish I had a vocoder. I've always dreamed of having like a talk box or a vocoder on my mic. So you believe in life after love.
I would have thought you were going to say if I could find a way. I thought you were going to go with the if I could turn back time song. And then
if I could. If I could, I would. If anybody at home knows some like vocoder, like voice filter thingies, like some kind of digital pass-through. Yeah. I don't know my audio words, but if somebody knows how to do that, I would like to be a vocoder commentator. I'd like to do Daft Punk one of these weeks.
Well, there you go. Everyone has to have a goal in life.
That's my goal.
That one is yours.
I think you did a good job of reading the grid, Derek, but in hindsight, I feel like I should have made Sean do it and just not explain why and see him stumble through it. So maybe next week. Maybe if we have the same technical issue next week, we may even if we don't, honestly, why not? Free form, make things fun here in the PRL, reading the grid. I've read the grid too many times. You can get a RaceSpot soundboard and have me read the grid. I've probably read every combination. Sean Campbell's never read a grid in his life, but he has led a grid in his life, and he's going to do it yet again. But will he be able to survive turn 1? He mentioned to us a couple of moments ago that if a GTP leads into turn 1, it's probably going to win the race. Can Nathan Olson pounce on Campbell? We'll see. Green flag in the air, and Sean Campbell does lead us to green at Road Atlanta. Look at Olson in that Moradness GTP with the slight red stripe, though, looking to pounce as they take the green flag in LMP2 as well immediately. And immediately, Hedgecox is looking to pounce on Caruso. He looks to the outside into turn 1. Sweeping around the outside is Jack Hedgecox on the curb. Aggressive stuff from the purple car of Hedgecox. Still banging doors, and Hedgecox gets turned over the nose of Caruso. Aggression comes a foul. Caruso holds on to the lead, and welcome Alex Caruso's fellow Alex Crow into the equation now.
Oh no, man, that's the second week in a row that Hedgecox has had a problem like that, where he's now going to have some damage, or at least
and Crow takes the lead. It switches around in LMP2 again, and now it switches back again. Caruso takes it back. Absolute chaos, absolute calamity in LMP2. 3 wide with some GTP traffic with some incidents in turn 7. We had a calm first lap. We had single file in LMP3 GT4. We've got exactly the opposite now.
Yeah, these guys said, hold my cup, watch this. And they're putting on a much different show. Still 2 wide here. I mean, look at this battle here. This is turn A and 10, or 10A, 10B, pardon me, right here is where they are on track up to the crest, about to finish the lap here. Let's see the replay. This is going to be
Johnny Luna going around in his Acura, a couple of others as well. That's Bradley Holly, I think, going around the outside of the spun GTP. He was the one in the middle of the road. And this was potentially the incident that'll define the race, Derek. Hedgecock's absolutely sending it around the outside to turn one. It was a phenomenal move, but it was aggression from him, it was aggression from Caruso, and it was going to end that way for one of those two.
I'm going to go bigger, so let's watch Bradley Holly. By the way, Bradley did mention and apologize. He had some tech issues that his screen went dark for a moment, so I apologize for that incident right there. But I'm going to go bigger when we get there. There's Chinsky, just a little off-road, you know, just testing the grass.
A little jumpy.
Picked up a side job, you know.
I hope he didn't break his suspension on that, as Craig Bray got into some rally things into turn one, off into the grass, but I believe he got it going with no harm, no foul. And I think that is the carousel of entertainment from lap one complete, but that's not going to be the end of it, Derek. We've already got GTPs trying to pass LMP2s with the bad luck that some drivers had on lap one. So we're gonna be following that all day long. Up front, we're gonna be following Sean Campbell all day long, because yet again, he's pulled out a pretty solid lead within about 2 laps. 7/10 now over Nathan Olson, who's trying to keep touch with him.
And that's what Nathan needs to do, is keep touch with him, put a little pressure on. Now let's watch, speaking of pressure, look at that big line of cars right there. And there's like one spun around in the middle. That's bad.
Anthony Dring getting into some trouble in the middle of the road. One of the SRT cars was somewhere there. I couldn't tell you which one it was. They've actually made our lives a little bit easier. There's a highlighter yellow car. That's Caleb Lehman now. He's no longer painted identically to his teammates. He's officially Caleb Lemon with that fully highlighter yellow SRT car, and I'm very happy to say that. Here's what happened to Edward Vardanessian, first driver down pit lane now, coming through turns 6 and 7. Doesn't look like he got any damage from that, but he did elect to tow it back to pit lane, and that might be his day over already.
Yeah, but that camera shot was a little vague as far as what happened. But you're right. I'm pretty sure there was no contact there, and it was just, you know, another spin out of turn 7, like we saw in the first race. Here's a battle here, coming into turn 10. And that's going to shut the door on that car and keep things going. But that Cayman Lemon joke, you've been holding that for a week, right?
I was waiting for them to do it, and then it could finally officially be Caleb Lemon. There he is. You just saw him. You saw him in the foreground there for just a moment.
You can see it
from a mile away, Derek. It's great.
Yeah, he showed us the paint like a week ago, I think. And I was like, oh, I can see it. I saw the joke coming, like at the moment. I was like, Joey's got it locked down.
Exactly. When life gives you lemons, you paint your car very bright yellow, and it makes you easy to differentiate. That's a Joey Tebbin strategy, Derek. You probably remember when I was racing in the PRL in the F3 series, I had a black car. You couldn't differentiate it from the other 20 black cars. So to make sure that that Mr. Joe Peak could differentiate it, I just painted it highlighter yellow, and I was very visible when I was crashing.
I was thinking more of your Grand National car.
That one too.
Which was, yeah. Look at this
Gotta
here.
make yourself visible.
Yeah, you do. Speaking of visible, Nathan Olson is really making himself visible inside the mirror of our race leader here, Sean Campbell. And that's what he needs to do, because as you said, not too far from now, as I take a look at the overhead track map, where we're going to start to find really heavy traffic here between the two classes. And that's where Nathan Olson could pounce and find a spot to get around Sean Campbell. But now back here, this is Dayton Lowe and Alec Bergstrom back here. This battle is tight here, 4th and 5th. And we'll see if Bergstrom can make a move through a corner here.
I was very excited to see Dayton Lowe signed up for this series this season. If you remember him in LMP3 last season, he pulled some Sean Campbell margins in some of those races. He only lost the championship because of the bad luck of not being able to make the final round that he couldn't drop. So he was a very, very highly hyped driver in the PRL. Season hasn't gone his way so far. I don't believe he actually made it to round 1. And then in round 2, in the rain, he had a unfortunate day and is currently sitting at negative 15 points in the championship due to a penalty, but we're definitely going to see Dayton Lowe factor into some races this season. He's very, very fast, and it's good to see him fighting now, but his teammate is going at it, coming down the hill. Orange versus yellow. John Rice versus Kwok Nin. Nin's on the inside, Rice on the outside. The inside into turn 1's where you want to be. Usually Rice tries to make it happen around the outside, but Kwok Nin hangs on to P8.
And what a great job sort of forcing his way in there and making the pass happen. Just decided he didn't want to be patient, didn't want to let this clock run out too far, and just got in there and nosed in and made it happen. This is going to be the replay of Zachary Deuce here. Hard to see from that camera angle.
No damage, no wall contact. That's as good as you can ask, Derek. Zachary Day is coming through turn 5 there. Just a little bit of a slide, or rather a lot of bit of a slide, but not a lot of bit of a damage.
You know, there's something about this track, Joe. It's been in my head in this race and last race, both in real life and in sim racing. Because of the elevations of this track and how much it does kind of curve back and forth, this is possibly the hardest track to broadcast, because there's just a lot of cameras that catch like almost everything, and then it doesn't at the same time. And it's both a real life racing problem as well. It's not just a sim racing problem, where it's just hard to find good camera angles because of all the elevation and all the corners and all the trees here.
You know what's been stuck in my head, Derek?
A lot of things, but it's hard to tell. But which one this time?
The 1982 song Rip It Up by the band Orange Juice.
Oh, okay. I would not have guessed that.
Oh dear, we got trouble into turn 1. That's one of the PRE cars, Boris Ovando. Just as I say that, speaking of Rip It Up, that's exactly what he's done to that Acura. Heavy damage, a big off in turn 1. I was mentioning PRE needed to start turning their luck around this season, and unfortunately, their lead driver in this race, Boris Ovando, out already. Michael Diaz not here. Pat Pelshaw not here. Daniel Zeggers is their only hope left.
Yes, I was thinking in my head.
Michael Diaz is here. That's my bad. Michael Diaz is in fact here. So I'm sorry, Michael. He just hasn't been as much of a factor as he usually is.
It's funny, you made that comment about Sean Campbell couldn't win the team points, and you said that, you know, PRE was ahead of him. I'm like, dude, if they keep having nights like this, Sean Campbell might pass them in the team point.
I'm not going to hear the end of that from Michael Diaz saying that he wasn't here, but just trust me, he is here. Oh dear, Johnny Luna is almost not here. That's about 25% of the car left.
Yeah, that's hard to say. Yeah, that's not good. Here's this battle again. Orange versus yellow comes back around the same spot we saw the last time, I believe. And, oh, man, look at Quaka way wide in that corner trying to stop any movement or pass from happening. And now they're going to come down here through these downhill corners here. And Quack doing a pretty good job of just keeping John Rice at bay and just trying to see, you know, if he can hold him back there.
If there was a green car behind John Rice, we'd be in perfect rainbow order here. We'd have OIGB. Orange, yellow, green, blue.
Yeah, I was trying to...
No green. Where's the green?
Yeah, I was trying to process that thought in my head. I was doing the whole Roy G. Biv in my head.
Yeah, just OIGB. Oh, Jeff Evans having a little bit of trouble getting into the number 28 in GTP, or the number 38, rather, of Andrew Venaro? No, the number 28, actually, of KC O'Brien. I was right the first time. That's so unfortunate. Jeff was a targeted missile there into the side of KC.
Yeah, unfortunately for Casey, with that angle that happened, that Casey had no idea that was coming. He probably didn't know it until he felt the bump in the back of the car and tried to loop it around. Jeff just came in at an awkward angle with too much speed, and that's what happens sometimes here at this track.
Oh, Nathan Olson to the lead in GTP. Campbell coming down through the S's. Little bit of trouble for him. Was it a traffic interaction? Was it just a mistake? We're going to find the answer right now, Derek. Here we go. Into turn 1. It was all going perfectly fine for him. Where did it all go wrong?
There's turn 1. It's way... No, that didn't get way wide. It's up over the hill.
Still good. Still good. That's what happened. Right, oh, my goodness. I couldn't see the number on that car. I think that might have been Daniel Trinka, but Sean Campbell makes a split-second decision of his own survival and says taking the club layout, taking a little bit of an off was the better option. And I'm going to say, Derek, as much as I love your color commentary, I think there's no better person to give us color analysis of that incident than the man who was on the scene himself. Sean, that was a life-or-death decision right there.
Maradna's hired assassin. No, I'm kidding.
Apparently. But what was the thought process? You saw a very, very bright yellow car, broadside across the track, and you decided to go to the outside onto the club layout.
Well, he started moving towards me.
There you go.
And he only stopped by the time I was fully committed to going around him.
Sean, can you confirm that was a slowdown from iRacing, right?
Yeah, it was. Okay. And it wouldn't go away because it went to 0.1 in the S's, and it went back up to 1.5.
Well, now suddenly you're on the back foot. You're not Mr. Pole Sitter anymore. You're not Mr. Clean Air anymore. You got to pass 2 more Adness cars now. This is a different situation for you.
Yeah, it's it's going to be interesting. I have a semi-plan, but it's probably also their plan already, so yeah. We'll see how it gets on.
How mysterious. Well, there's an LMP2 trying to pass you, not succeeding. We'll let you get back to business, Sean. You do actually have a race to do now for the first time in a little while, so maybe we'll see you in a couple minutes.
All right, maybe.
Sean Campbell. Drop him down into his special channel. Suddenly, Derek, for oh dear, there's some more trouble for the number 36, but for Sean Campbell, Derek, for the first time in a very long time, we have a legitimate race with him in the field. Let's see what happened to Dino Vella first, though.
Yeah, Dino's going to get, I think, hip checked here through the top of this crest.
Oh, and it's with the Hedgemeister. Jack Hedgecock's getting into trouble in the same corner.
Yeah, same corner. Jack got looped around there back in lap 1, pardon me. So that's what happened there. And I do want to confirm for those who are watching, maybe you got family or friends when you're watching, you don't do the iRacing. What happened to Sean Campbell, real quick to explain, is that iRacing and the officials deemed that to be a shortcut he took, although I would debate it wasn't. And so they made him serve a slowdown penalty on track. That's how Olsen got ahead of him, with all due respect to Olsen. But a scary moment that Sean Campbell is probably happy this has survived. But now Michael Diaz, the man you thought wasn't here, the John Cena of the race, if you will, because Joey Tebben could not see him, is now trying to run down John Rice here. And that means Kwok Win fell way back there in the P9 in the back of that camera angle.
Yeah, we got a guy named Johnny Turbo Snail Salada in the YouTube chat who says that John can barely reach his pedals. I don't know if that's John Rice, who's a little pipsqueak, or if that's John Krauser, or if that's John Leedy. There's too many Johns in the field. You got to be a little bit more specific here. But either way, John Rice has to make himself a pretty big man right now because Michael Diaz is doing Michael Diaz things, putting the pressure on, hounding him coming down through the S's. Rice gets to live on for another day through the S's. Diaz a little bit of a slide in the background as well, but Michael is not an easy driver to keep behind.
No, not very much at all. You see the different segments right there. Through segment 1, Diaz is a little slower. They're dead even in segment 2, and then Diaz picks it up a little bit in the back third of the track. So you see there's the lap times there almost identical. So it's just going to be a matter of finding an open hole and getting in there. And with this traffic ahead of them, this might be the moment he needs to see if he can make a pass happen.
Give him a little bit of a buffer. I believe that's the 35 of Nathan Mon. Sean Campbell has gotten by Mitchell Johnson. That's one car out of his line. A little bit of trouble into turn 1, though, for Josh Goen behind the number 63 of Chip Michaels. Here's Goen up the hill. Everything's going okay. And then I think things go very much not okay once again, Derek, through our calamity corner there, the first corner of the S's at turn 2 and 3.
It feels like that's just the corner of this race, for this race here, for the GTPs and LMP2s, we're going to see most of our incidents. That was not exactly the corner I recall from the last race, but they really, maybe it's the speed difference that's caused them to get in trouble over that crest. We'll have to wait and see. Beautiful pass there. Oh, man, getting into the S's. A little tight at the end, though.
Beautiful indeed from Daniel Zeggers, a driver with a lot of multi-class experience, but definitely a little bit dicey. Also, we have got confirmation from Mr. Johnny Turbo Snail Salada. He does say that it is John Rice he was talking about, so maybe we'll put that in our brain banks, Derek, for future consideration. If John Rice is a little bit of a short guy, we might have to think about who's a tall guy in the field. I don't really know PRL driver heights, but I have to imagine there's some tall guys around here. There's probably some basketball recruits.
And the only one I know of is in this race, which is Stephen Verity. I know he's a tall guy, but I don't know many other heights. I don't do that level of stalking my PRL drivers.
We got to get Arjuna in this race.
Oh.
Stephen Wilson.
Get producer Joshua Lee in here. He's like 5-0, I think.
He's a little guy. Dane Baird, little guy. Ooh, scary moment there for Mr. Campbell. As I think that was Andrew Wood going off the road ahead of him. He did get by Mitchell Johnson. I'm not entirely sure when that happened, but it was a pass for him. I think it was fairly straightforward. But now a 2-second lead for him to make up on Nathan Olson. Andrew Wood trying to wipe the grass off of his tires. And we tune back into the LMP2 train for P2 because Alex Caruso has run away with this thing. He's got a 9-second lead. And Caleb Lehman, as we were looking away, made the move on Alex Crow and has taken P2 away.
Yeah, done a great job here. In fact, now Lehman's been putting just a small bit of gap here. You see the timing on your screen as he's got Crow behind him, as you said, but yeah, that 9-second gap or whatever it is here up to Caruso, that is impressive. That's wild to think he's really that far ahead here about 20 minutes into this race. Makes me wonder if something happened on track to maybe check some drivers up to help create that gap.
That could be. Caleb Lehman, I think we might have his camera a little bit later today. I hope we get to see that. But we've got some inter-team rivalries here, as we've got Darian Roy, Nathan Ray, and Bradley Holly, technically on 3 different teams, but Darian Roy and Bradley Holly have shared a car before. I think Nathan Ray has shared a car with at least one of these guys before, but for now, Porsche versus Acura. Roy Ray Holly going at it for the last spot just outside of the top 10, and a little bit of intersection from Ray and Roy, and Holly trying to pounce, doesn't pounce, sends himself into the wall instead.
That's unfortunate for Nathan Ray. Or is that?
It's Holly.
That's Holly. I'm sorry. I said Nathan Ray. That's Bradley Holly. Looked like he almost did like a NASCAR-style bump trap. I don't know if it was the camera angle we had or if there really was a bump there before all that happened. It was kind of it's ironic that NASCAR owns this track since we just saw a bump trap right there.
Yeah, I think he clipped the grass trying to go around the outside. I think that was some unfortunate luck for him. Alex Crow has brought it down pit lane, potentially kicking off the pit cycle for LMP2. Josh Goen throws it off the road in turn 10B. It's all kicking off here, yet again, with about 28 minutes to go. Kwok Nin trying to get back to Mr. John Rice, trying to make Mr. Turbo Snail happy, but he's got a little bit more work to make that action happen again. But coming up on some LMP2 traffic around the outside into turns 2 and 3, Kwok's got nobody between him and Rice again.
Oh, so far, I got a little bit of open track here, something that's not going to be able to be said a whole lot here. Let's go back and watch this again here.
Here's what happened to Brad. Or no, not yet. Here's what happened to Bergstrom first. What happened to Alec Bergstrom? We didn't see this.
No, I don't think we did, so let's take a look here. Now
no,
we're going to
nothing. Nothing, apparently.
This will be Nathan Olson here.
Sean Campbell. Sean Campbell, yet again. We'll find it. We'll find what happened eventually.
It's actually a pretty cool look here just to kind of see different angles of the cars going through the same corner and kind of see how they're approaching and what they see in the car, which sometimes is surprising. The the GTPs are not exactly known for their field of view inside those cars.
This is the battle for the lead on your screen now. We're back to live pictures officially. Olsen getting through on a little bit of traffic, but that gap, it was once north of 2 seconds. He once had a buffer with his own teammate Mitchell Johnson behind him. He now has nothing of the sort. He only has Sean Campbell behind him, and that is a scary, scary thing to behold. Couple more cars coming up. Caleb Lehman coming up. Matt Carroll a little bit squirrely on the exit of turn 5 as Campbell gets by him. But Nathan Olsen needs to hope that traffic goes his way every single lap for the rest of the race, I think, to hold Sean behind. And that is going to be a very, very big ask. He does get through on Caleb Lehman, but he's still only got about a second of a gap to hold back.
And the difference, look at that, and see how quickly Campbell got by Lehman. Olsen had to do it in a corner, and Lehman sort of went way wide, and that sort of slowed Olsen up a little bit, but then Lehman just kind of went right on by. So you can say, at least for that lap car, for that round of the fight, quote unquote, that Campbell won that fight on all rounds as far as time made up with that pass. So we'll see what happens here. I'm sure the pit stop will be very, very important. Here's on board, by the way, with Caleb Lehman.
Do we have his camera is my question now. I hope we get to see it. I don't know if it's going to cause any technical issues, but Caleb always very courteous, showing us his whole setup. He's usually got some Legos. He's usually got some VR goggles with some googly eyes on them. I hope we can show that off at some point. But until then, I do have some news about Edward Vardanessian. If you were wondering about that slightly strange incident he had early on that led to him towing back to the pits, it was a technical issue for him. It was an issue with his shifter, an issue with his wheel. It was doing all sorts of crazy things. And unfortunately, just like in real racing, technical issues take you out of it sometimes. And there's Caleb. Yay!
That's Caleb. Got a nice setup there. Got the Formula wheel on. Nice setup here. Got the VR on as well with the little googly eyes. By the way, Joey, in the Derek Teaches Joey segment of the night, do you know the plural of Lego?
Lego.
Is Lego?
Yeah.
I just learned that recently.
Moose.
Just like moose, yeah.
Exactly. But also, if you say Legos, you're okay. We're not going to kill you. We're not going to take you. We're not going to take you behind the shed. It's okay. You can put in it. You can say mooses if you want. You can say meese. It's all okay.
No, you cannot say mooses. Don't advocate for that.
If you say mooses, you'll be my new favorite. If any driver says mooses, I'll call Jerome or Tyler Gore and tell you to give him a couple of points. Kwok Nin here. New angle from him. Normally we see his background in full high quality. Sometimes we see him enjoying some things to get him in the mood for the race, but this time he's got the glaucoma background. We can't see behind him anymore.
And I wasn't sure. You can see his seat rattling. I'm not sure if that was a green screen effect or if that was simply just like maybe he has a butt kicker or some kind of device that was rattling that seat.
And also, Derek, just to resolve something for you, I got a message from David Duino about his monitors. You were wondering if they were just one monitor or many monitors.
Mhm.
It was he has 3 32-inch curved monitors.
Ooh.
So if you're looking for a sim racing setup at home, people, listen to Mr. David Duino.
So I was right. It did cost more than my bed.
$9,000. I mean, probably not that much, but definitely more than my bed. Definitely more than Derek's bed. We'll get some sim racing money one of these days. John Rice pulls it down pit lane, actually. We're almost to halfway in this race, so we do have to start thinking about pit strategy, and Mr. Rice says, I'm going off strategy. I'm doing my own thing. I'm in a little bit of traffic, and I'm going to find some clean air, hopefully.
I will see if he does. I want to wrap up one more thing as well. Just got a message actually from Vincent LaRue. He is teasing a livery change.
Finally.
For next week.
It's going to make our lives so easy.
Yeah,
I hope
right?
it's like... I don't know, what do we not have in the field? What's something totally unique?
His options are red, orange, yellow, green, or purple.
What about clear?
If he wrecks the car.
That's true. The first clear livery in iRacing. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the bright red of Sean Campbell. I like it in this specific scenario, though, because in the PRL, teams are pretty creative. There's no just red and black liveries, other than really this race clutch one that Sean is running. If you see Sean run in one of his pro level races, though, with Redline and who knows who else, there's a lot of red and black. So he's unique in the PRL. The race clutch livery is not so unique in any situation other than this one, though.
No, not really. This is a one-time thing. And Sean really is trying his best here to get up to Nathan Olson. And I think that gap has actually grown from the last time I peeked over at the standings on the left side of your screen. It picks up to 1.3 seconds right now. That's bigger than I remember it being earlier when they were getting around Caleb Lehman, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. I'm going to have to do some research here, Derek, because I don't think Sean Campbell has been beaten on track in the PRL, either since his Grand National races or his GT3 races. I don't know which season was his most recent, so if I ever go very quiet, if I ever ignore your cues, that might be because I'm looking through the playlist archive on RaceSpot to try and figure this out.
Yeah, as someone who's been part of the Grand National broadcast for about a year now, I'm going to guess it's GT3s, because I don't ever remember there being a race with Sean Campbell. And here's Bradley Holly, by the way.
It was a while ago. I think it was like season 2 or so. He was like, you know what, I'm going to do some oval racing, because, why not? Hi, Joshua Lee.
Hi, Joshua Lee. By the way, Bradley there, when he pointed out, this happened, I think, last week during the Grand National race, trying out a new webcam layout, by the way. He's always had the 2 webcams in the system. It kind of goes back and forth. That second camera is now mounted to his headset and provides you like a true driver helmet cam. If we can ever go back to that, it's pretty cool.
I like the double cam. I like Quack's cam. I like the glaucoma well, I don't like the glaucoma background, but I deal with the glaucoma background. Michael Diaz coming down pit lane, having a slightly lonely day. He comes upon his teammate's corpse of a car, but he will get going again. And we may have a change for the lead, Derek. My research may be for nothing, as Sean Campbell has gotten to the side of Nathan Olson. He's forced to slot in line, though, not able to make the move this time. Is he going to be later on the brakes into turn 10A, though? No, he decides to stay back, doesn't decide to go for it this time. Little bit of caution from Sean Campbell, potentially.
Yeah, Nathan Olson.
And Nathan comes down immediately.
Never mind. Yeah, he does. He decides right there. It's the time. He's under pressure. Might as well go ahead and pit now. Do the undercut. And maybe he'll find some clean track that'll give him a benefit over Sean Campbell. So now it starts that long drive down pit road here. It's about a 32 to 33 second delta overall for these drivers. So we'll keep an eye on Nathan Olson here, since a few other cars are already down pit road.
But if there's anything we know Sean Campbell for, it's that even when he's on the back foot, even when other drivers seem to have an advantage, he is a conniving little guy, and he's always saving fuel. He's always doing something crafty. So we may see this race decided by a shorter pit stop. We'll see. Wait for that number for Nathan Olson to continue ticking up. 18 seconds, 19 seconds, 20 seconds. It's going to be a fairly large number. 22, 23. It's still going up. It's a long stop from Nathan Olson. And I don't know if it's going to be as long of a stop for Sean Campbell. It is a very long stop for Nathan Olson, Derek. It continues to tick up. That's not just a long stop. That is a penalty for Nathan Olson.
Yeah, it is. That is a black flag, I'm guessing, for too fast entering. I'm going to take a look here a second. Let's see if I can get there. Man, oh man.
Man, oh man, indeed. That is such a shame for Olsen, and I think Sean has seen Nathan fall down the order on his relative or on his screen somehow, and he says, you know what? It's not really a fight anymore. I can come down pit lane whenever I want to, and Campbell from the race lead does exactly that. He's down pit lane, and as long as he doesn't get a speeding penalty as well, which he hasn't because he's taken service, he is going to be fairly comfortable in the win of this race.
Hey, I'm confused, Joey, because I've went back and watched his entry. Let me see it one more time.
Was it an unsafe pit entry? Did he come in too late?
It must be that, because he's definitely at speed as far as I can tell when he gets to the yellow cones at 45. So it's either going to be, let's see the entry, hold on.
Getting live Derek analysis here. As Dayton Lowe gets by Karsten Quint, that is 4 position, that's for P5.
It almost makes me, and this is a wild long shot, it makes me wonder if he's had enough off tracks that he has a 13x penalty for something, because I don't see any indication of speeding. The entry looked fine, and they held him in the box, but it can't be an exit penalty. I don't know. See if we can talk to Nathan Olsen afterward.
It could have been... Oh, John Rice in trouble in turn 1. The chat's new favorite driver. Even the new gravel, even the slightly stickier gravel and grass couldn't save John Rice there into the wall in turn 1. Classic Road Atlanta crash, unfortunately for him. I don't know if we can we bring up a replay of Nathan Olsen coming in the pits, hopefully, because that would be good. If we have that, if we can rewind the old reel to Nathan making his pit stop, that should be able to resolve the mystery and see if was it a penalty, was it just a long stop, did he forget to uncheck tires or fuel or something? It is a great mystery, and I think the only thing that can really resolve that is if we see a replay, so I'm hoping we can get that loaded up.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I just didn't see anything, but you're right. I mean, that was very, very long, so I don't know. Yeah, that's confusing to me. Sorry to sound so confused. I don't like that. But here's Kwok Nin. He's not confused. Look at him looking up. That tells you his monitor is supposed to be above him with the way his head's kind of tilted back. That's going to lead to some neck cramps there, Kwok. You want to get a pillow back there or something to help out with that.
Take your screenshots now, folks. If you're a member of the Nin family, if you're one of Kwok's friends, take this screenshot of Kwok ahead of Sean Campbell, because unfortunately it's going to end very, very soon here. The orange and black number 86 down pit lane. 7 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds before Kwok even gets stopped. I think Sean will fly by here on the front straight and retake the lead and likely run away with it for the next 16 minutes.
Yeah, you saw Kwok even going up there, by the way, getting tired. Still a car lift up off the ground. So multiple, maybe at least one driver, if not multiple, electing to take tires here. Typically in a race like this, only a 45-minute race, drivers feel as though that tire change is not worth what you get out of it here, but I guess he does.
And now as we get everything in order here, this is the official running order of the race. Things have gone very, very well in this pit cycle for Kwok Nin, Derek. He might not be in the lead of the race anymore, but Kwok Nin is on the podium in GTP.
Yeah, it's great there. Alex Caruso is leading the race for LMP2. You see him on screen here, native of California, and doing a great job here, holding off a 10-second, 11-second gap now to Jack Hedgecox. Hedgecox, by the way, up to P2 after both that spin and P1, or in lap 1, pardon me, and then that contact later. A great run for him. But you're right, Kwok Nin doing a great job here. Dayton Lowe up to P2. I mean, these first 3 weeks have provided really 2 weeks of surprise as far as who's where. These points are going to shake up pretty wildly, I think, to what some people expected.
And Hedgecox is going for his 3rd championship in succession in LMP2, and this is exactly why he's won those first 2 championships, because when he's on the back foot, when he has to start from the back of the field, when he has trouble on lap 1, he's one of those drivers who can absolutely charge through the field and end up having a fairly normal day. A bad day for Jack Hedgecox could be a 5th or a 4th or a 3rd, which is insane. That's why you win championships. He hasn't made his final pit stop yet, so it could be as low as 3rd or 4th, but still, 3rd or 4th after you were spun on lap 1, that's insane stuff. And for a driver who had a bad week last week in the rain, crashed early, didn't get any points because it was an early DNF, Hedgecox needs a race like this to get him back in championship contention and confirm that he is still absolutely the favorite and the fastest driver in an LMP2 car in this series.
Yeah, good stuff there. Hey, by the way, surprise, I'm guessing he's just kind of parked it for the day. Nathan Olson's now sitting on pit road, still in the car, but is just sitting there. Just FYI, to continue that story of confusion. I feel like that song, I know the Disturbed You version. There's a one before that, Land of Confusion. Was that Genesis?
What about ELO?
I don't think it was ELO. Was
Confusion. It's such a terrible thing. Oh, Chip Michaels gets sideswiped by Darian Roy.
Man, that was hard and very sudden right there into that wall. So we'll see here. This is maybe back to live racing here on your screen. And about 12.5 minutes left in this race here. And seeing a couple of battles left to be resolved here. Darian Roy and Nathan Ray, only a couple letters apart, only a couple tenths of a second apart on the track as they're now coming out here to complete another lap. And saw the blinking of the lights. Is that just a good job? Because I didn't see a reason for him to be upset during that pass.
Well, these guys have been conspiring against us, Derek, because they have one job today, and that is to make commentary as difficult as possible. Because Ray, that's not possible. Those are too similar. We're going to jump over them. We're going to trip them somehow. They're just they're trying to make our lives difficult. Caruso and Hedgecox, though, making our lives pretty easy. 10-second gap between them coming into pit lane means that Alex Caruso is going to very easily win the race off of pit road. It's going to be a question of the blend with Jack Hedgecox, though. Does he blend out in P2? Is Caleb Lehman able to jump him for P2? With Caleb about 15 seconds behind, I think that's going to be pretty easy. I think Jack Hedgecox has driven from a spin on lap 1 to second. Speaking of slight comeback drives, or drivers we haven't talked about much, I should say, Rob Campbell, maybe not as much of a comeback drive as I thought, but for the driver who was Lord Rob Campbell in week 1, he's since lost, I think, that lordly title. I think he realized that those websites where you buy the Scottish land deeds don't actually count for anything. He is now human Rob Campbell again, but yeah, he's having a solid day in P6. Number 36 of Dino Vella is in, and the number 97 and the number 8 of Josh Goen. Joshua Chinsky and Josh Goen. Josh versus Josh into turn 1.
Now we had Ray and Roy. Now we got Josh and other things going on. John and Josh and all kinds of battles happening across the track here. Yeah, I guess Rob Campbell, like in like Premier League, they have like the relegation. You get promoted, demoted between leagues for how you do. I guess Rob Campbell got demoted. I don't know. He made a bad decision or beheaded the wrong person or I don't know.
He's been kicked out of the House of Lords. Oh, dear. And also, that was Marco Jansen on the 97, by the way. That's my bad. Joshua Chinsky has been in the 18 for his entire PRL career, and the graphics slightly confused me there. But while we see some GTPs and LMP2s having some fun on track, I just got a Discord message from Sean Campbell that says something that I'm not actually allowed to say on the broadcast, but I'm going to ask him what it meant. Sean, why did you send me that message?
I mean, did you see what happened?
No.
And don't repeat the message.
You haven't seen what I sent you? There's nothing explicit, don't worry. You didn't see not what happened just now, but what there was an LMP2 that crashed at T5 on the exit on the right side, and I come over the crest unsighted. This happened I don't know, 15-20 minutes ago now.
I wish we did see that. That sounds great. That sounds fantastic.
I think I got a 4X from it. No, if it was that long ago, I think we did see that, actually.
We saw the one in turn 2. We didn't see the one in turn 5.
Okay. The one coming out of the exit of the S's. There was one stopped on the right here, and he started to roll across the track. And I missed him by so little that I got a 4X from it, but I don't have any damage.
If you T-boned him, if you took a hard right and hit him instead, I think we would have saw it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you didn't do the funny thing. You had to do the preserving your own race thing. What happened to entertainment, Sean Campbell?
I don't know, man. You should have seen this first 15 to 20 minutes. You remember how I said all my bad luck was gone? Apparently not. It all dumped right at it all depleted right at the start of this.
And we don't actually know what happened to Nathan Olson. I don't know if it was a pit lane entry penalty or if he had technical issues or what, but I don't know where he went.
Turn 2, he went behind an LMP2, and the LMP2, I guess they made contact, and he lost the front end of his car.
Actually? Oh dear, yep. We didn't even see that. That might have been one of those things where it was so close graphically that we couldn't actually see it.
Yeah, you'll have to look back at it because
that's unfortunate.
You'll have to look back at all that because there was tons of stuff That's horrifying.
We might have to do the Sean cast after this. I don't know what the details of that with RaceSpot are, but we might have to do just the Sean Campbell post-mortem review of all the scary moments.
I'll need to grab the replay from someone because my replay only goes back like 10 minutes.
Well, actually, I tell you who we have. We have Nathan Olson waiting for an interview. So, Sean, I'm going to kick you out. I'm going to let you go finish your last 8 minutes of the race, and I'm going to let Nathan Olson talk us through what happened to him.
All right.
Kick Sean out. Get him out of here. Get Nathan Olson in as... Actually, I'll wait a moment. I'll let Josh Goen and Marco Jansen resolve this battle for a moment. See if anything happens into turn 10. And if they're still 1-by-1, Derek, we will bring Nathan Olson in, but I'll let them get their spot in the spotlight. Goen's not fast enough in a straight line. Never mind. Nathan Olson, welcome to the booth. What happened? It was a grand mystery. We heard from Sean that there may have been a little bit of phantom damage that you had on your screen that we didn't have on our screen. What happened to take you out of this fight for the win?
So going into turn 3, I was playing it pretty easy behind one of the P2s, like lifting off, braking really early. I wasn't expecting them to be about 30 kilometers an hour slower than normal into turn 3, so I ended up hitting them, and it was like 40 seconds repairs. And it's not that I didn't want to finish or anything, it's just that I just went to go do some officials. But yeah, that's what happened. It was just a misread of the situation. I thought he was going to go a lot quicker than he went, and then just ended up running to the back of him.
Understandable. But it was a good day until then, as they're side-by-side on screen in LMP2. That's been resolved. Josh Goen gets by Marco Jansen. You were having a very good day before that. Ahead of Sean, I'd say keeping pace with him, keeping him behind about a second, even with potentially a little bit of damage. Does that give you some confidence coming into the final 6 rounds of the season? Maybe you could be the guy who beats Sean at some point this season?
Oh yeah, it was nice. I mean, Sean and I were the same pace. I was watching it. When he was in front, we were doing the exact same times. When I was in front, we were doing the exact same times. He was unfortunate to have less time to react to an LMP2 car than I did, which lost him the lead. And then vice versa, same turn and everything happened to me. So yeah, it's nice battling him. I mean, he's obviously someone who gives me competition in that series. Maybe I haven't been showing it in the past couple of races, but I mean that's usually where I'd expect myself. So I mean, I'll consider the possibility of beating him in future rounds.
Well, Nathan, I'll let you go because we got a battle for the podium here. Kwok Nin and Daniel Zeggers into turn 1. Nin on the outside, Zeggers on the inside. That's resolved 1-by-1. But Derek, we are back into racing mode. We are back into an absolute all-out battle. Nin, Zeggers, and maybe even Michael Diaz for the final spot in the podium.
Yeah, doing a great job here battling, 3, 4, and 5 right there on your screen. Let's take a look back here a moment ago. This is going to be Nathan Ray. Don't call me Roy. Lost it there in turn 1 or 2 right there. That's that spot. We've seen everyone lose it today. Here's John Krauser. That's a little bit better. I mean, a little bit of damage to the front of that car, but not too bad. Got it mostly checked up.
That was such a kind hit of the wall. That was so gentle.
And one of the few quote-unquote safer spots hit the wall, but in that tire barrier right there. And of course, even though this track's owned by NASCAR, no safer barriers here. And Daniel Zeggers and Kwok Nin looking for anything safe here. Oh my goodness, that was not a safe pass as Kwok Nin almost got himself wrecked by not being clear. And instead, they are going to work this out here coming around the final corners.
Aggressive but calculated from Daniel Zeggers, and an excellent move to get himself up into the podium. Another driver moving up from his category last season was an LMP2 competitor. Again, maybe should have won the championship, but bad luck, an errant car taking him out on lap 1 at Silverstone in the championship finale. Ended up losing him that championship to Jack Hedgecox, but he was so strong, so fast, so dominant at times that he really earned himself a promotion up into GTP with the rest of his PRE teammates, and a podium for him. That's going to make him a very, very happy boy. And we'll definitely be looking forward to seeing him many, many places this season. Long Beach, I think, will be a good place for Zeggers. He might be in the fight for, if not the win, the podium. Dayton Low going to be in good contention there as well. I can't tell you how excited I am for Long Beach next week, Derek. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be lots of fun. It might not rain, but even dry Long Beach has had some of the best races in PRL history.
Yeah, my one exposure to, my first exposure, I should say, to PRL as far as this class was concerned was a couple years ago when he raced at Long Beach, and it was pure chaos, to put it nicely. So that's what I'm expecting next week as well. Look at Kwok Nin and Michael Diaz fighting in the background of this shot right here, and they seem too wide through the corner, and Kwok just barely ahead, now gets the inside corner here.
And this is one of the interesting things about this GTP class, about both classes in this series. There's no Pro-Am split, as there is often in the PRL. Kwok Nin and Michael Diaz have fought each other on track before in GT3 cars, but that was back in series when they were Pro-Am split. Michael Diaz was in the Pro class, Nin was in the Am class, but now that they're in the same class, Kwok is actually beating Diaz. That's the magic of putting all drivers on the same track together, and that's also a very big compliment to Kwok Nin, who has improved his skill and improved his speed so much since we first saw him in the PRL. He is a very strong driver nowadays as we ride on board with Caleb Lehman coming through the S's and hopping those curbs.
Oh, and I reacted when we first went to Caleb Lehman to see that wheel was really fighting him for the first time. He was really having to kind of arm wrestle that wheel to where he wanted it to be. But now we're back to the battle here with Kwok Nin. And he's really holding off Michael Diaz. Unfortunately for them, Daniel Zegers is just pulled away here. So you see Zegers up at the front of that shot. Now here comes Nin and Diaz coming through. This is now for 4th and 5th as the podium spot has pulled away by probably about half a second or so, I would say, over these gentlemen.
Only a couple minutes left to go. If you're going to make a pass, you got to make it happen very, very soon because you don't get many opportunities at Road Atlanta. And there's very little time left on the clock, but coming into turn 6, straightforward stuff, one by one by one by one. Nathan Ray in the background there, still trying to just bring it to the end of this race, trying to survive after an absolutely calamitous day. But Michael Diaz, excellent exit for him out of turn 7, down the back straight. The draft powerful enough in these GTP cars to make a pass into turn 10. That's exactly how Zegers got by Nin. Now can his teammate Diaz do the same thing? Kwok defends to the inside. Diaz is there using a little bit of the side draft later on the brakes into turn 10A and clear into turn 10B.
I am thoroughly stunned right now by Michael Diaz, and that was a great move to get that pass done. I thought for sure when I looked up at the clock and saw 2.5 minutes left, I thought, yeah, there's not much chance he has of getting around Nin. But he really did a great job there of making that pass happen and pushing the topic. And now Kwok Nin's now on the clock with 1 minute and 52 seconds to go. Let's see if he can get that spot back.
I mean, Diaz might even be able to take the podium. If we look forward, I don't see any lap traffic that'll really play a part at all, but who knows? With how fast Michael's been in these last couple of laps, he was a 10th faster than Zegers on that last lap. I don't know. Might be a little bit too big of an ask, but if Michael Diaz can end up on the podium here after what was looking like a mediocre day early on, that would be pretty big from him, but only a little bit of time left to do it. Jeff Evans at the head of your screen, 1 lap down outside the top 10. That's rare for him. Jeff Evans is usually a top 10 machine. Even when he's having a mediocre day, he usually brings it home and ends it in the top 10, but we saw him have an incident a little bit earlier, and he's going to be nice, he's going to be courteous, and he's going to take that hot pink car to the inside of the road and let everybody by to continue on the fighting.
Yeah, great job there by Jeff to do the right thing. And then you see Sean Campbell's pulled away with this race after the issues that Nathan Olson had and the investigations we spent trying to figure it out. He's got Dayton Lowe about 12 seconds back. So unless something weird happens with lap traffic here, Sean Campbell's got it wrapped up.
And if something weird happens with lap traffic, sometimes it does involve Darian Roy. Unfortunately, this time it is not him. Sean does get through. Roy, a little bit of a flash of the lights. To the inside of Alex Crow goes Sean, and he will take the white flag this time for yet another dominant victory lap of sorts, with no drivers within touching distance of him on the final lap. The numbers are slightly not updated on our statistics, so with at the end of last season, Sean Campbell had 26 wins. 24 wins, rather. He had his 25th win in round 1, his 26th win in round 2. This will be Sean Campbell's 27th win. That's a big number. Only about 3 more wins until he gets up into the 30s, as Michael Diaz, just as I mentioned, Derek, has gotten by Zegers, but they're going to be side by side down the hill. The PRE teammates are going to be going at it for the podium on the final lap.
Yeah, a little bit of slower traffic got ahead of Zegers and slowed him up a little bit, and Diaz jumped on it and pounced.
Michael gets around, but spins it into turn 1. Too aggressive, over the grip limit of the tires, but Diaz sent it into turn 1. He was going for it. Doesn't go his way. It's still going to be P5 for him, though. He's got a buffer back to Nicholas Schwartz, but what a send for Michael Diaz.
What an attempt to make something happen in the last lap, and went for it, as you said, sent it in there and didn't stick, but sometimes you gotta hope it does, and you can impress yourself when it does here. But a great job getting to Zegers and making something happen. Just unfortunately didn't pay off.
30 seconds up the road, though, Sean Campbell has already crossed the line to win the race. Sean Campbell, for the 27th time in the PRL, is victorious. Will he be beaten this season? I don't know. Nathan Olson gave him his biggest challenge tonight, but bad luck from Olson, a little bit of trouble and a little bit of damage took him out of contention. But that does show. Sean Campbell is human. It just takes a lapped car spinning in front of him and making him throw it off the road to make that happen. Alex Caruso down in LMP2. He's had a similarly dominant day. Dare I say Campbell-esque, as from lap 1, little bit of contact with Jack Hedgecox as they were very aggressive with each other coming into turn 2. Caruso comes out clean, and with his teammate directly ahead of him, they're going to get a little bit of a photo finish here for the social medias. Take a screenshot of this side by side with Alex Caruso and his teammate Eddie Layton. Alex Caruso victorious in Road Atlanta, and I believe his first win in the PRL, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a big day from him. Checking the sheet right now. Indeed, first win for Alex Caruso. Fantastic stuff from him, and fantastic stuff from Jack Hedgecox, for that matter. Spinning to last on lap 1, and still finishing second behind the driver who he made contact with. That's incredible stuff.
Yeah, that's a great run. Something you're very proud of. You'll be frustrated by the lap 1 contact, but the fact you came back and finished P2 shows the talent, the skill, and the speed that he possesses.
So I'm not sure if we'll be able to show the results. Yes, we can. How about that? Oh, we've lost it. We've lost it. But I think I can. No, we can. We can. Good. We don't have to do the impromptu grid this time. Sean Campbell, victorious at Road Atlanta, ahead of Dayton Lowe. His best result in the GTP so far, second from him, and he was keeping pace with Campbell at the end of the race, so maybe put him a little bit further forward on the grid, and we could have a fight between them two this season. Daniel Zeggers rounded off the podium after a battle with his teammate Michael Diaz. Kwok Nin had one of his best races ever in the PRL to finish P4, and Michael Diaz certainly putting himself on the highlight reel for that send around the outside in turn 1. Didn't quite go his way, though. Nicholas Schwartz was the last driver on the lead lap. A very strong day from him. Darian Roy, Karsten Quint, Nathan Ray, and Nikos Sanidakis rounded out the top 10. All of them went one lap down, respectively. Jeff Evans, outside of the top 10. You don't see that often. And then into LMP2, Alex Caruso was your victor for the first time in the PRL. Jack Hedgecock second, and Caleb Lehman with the new lemon livery rounds out the podium. Alex Crow, your winner from last week, maybe hoping for a little bit more rain. He finished P4. Carroll, Campbell, Tyler Pierre Richards, Marco Jansen, and Josh Goen rounded out the top 9 in LMP2. Andrew Wood rounded out the top 10. Then Bray, Mon, Venaro, Leedy, Vela, Chinsky, and Fleischman bring you down to, gotta do some math in my head, 18th in LMP2. Bradley Holly had some damage to that car. He finished 12th in GTP. John Krauser, 19th in LMP2. But the hits keep on coming as I turn away from the mic. Luke Wallace, the first car of the used car lot, 27, 9 laps down. Chip Michaels and Eddie Layton in trouble as well, but Eddie got to take his screenshot with his teammate across the line. Nathan Olson, the first driver to really give a challenge to Sean Campbell, didn't quite go his way, though, with some damage with a lapped car. His teammate Alec Bergstrom in bad luck as well. And John Rice, he'll be back next week with full support of the chat for the Fiercely Forward driver. Daniel Trinka was a very notable part of this race. It wasn't quite the way he wanted it to be, though. Zachary Deas, Mitchell Johnson, Casey O'Brien down to 40th, and Boris Ovando, Johnny Luna, Anthony Dring, and Edward Vardanesian round out the used car lot of drivers with heavy damage who weren't quite able to make it to the end. But after all that strain, after all that voice strain, we get to talk yet again to the driver who's won every race so far this season. Mr. Sean Campbell is back yet again. You survived Road Atlanta. It was very scary. You had many moments of fear for your life, but yet again, you got a 10-second win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Well, I know how. It was unfortunate, but it was shaping up to be a really good battle between me and Nathan there. Unfortunate. I'm tired. I actually don't really know what I'm saying. It was a good battle. It was going to be a good battle. I know that, but I can't think of what to say. That's the most attentive that I've had to be for 45 minutes, I think, ever.
Good. I'm happy to hear it. But we go to Long Beach next week. If this was your full attention, imagine Long Beach with the same group of cars, the same group of drivers, the same amount of chaos. Are you looking forward to next week?
Yeah, I think Long Beach is going to be potentially easier on traffic passing. If that makes me sound crazy, I will stand by it though, because it's a lot more braking, which the LMDH is good at. The acceleration zones are going to be weird. I think the hairpin is going to be very strange in the Acura because the gearing is so long. If there is a Cadillac driver, if there is a singular Cadillac driver, they will be very good there. No, I think it's going to be a bit easier because there's a lot more side-by-side places there compared to Road Atlanta.
Last question, one-word answer to this. Rain at Long Beach, question mark?
Hopefully.
There we go. Sean Campbell, winner yet again. Let's get talking to the rest of the field. We got lots of drivers here. Very, very happy, Derek. And we got a first-time winner in the PRL. Mr. Alex Caruso's here.
Alex, great job on your first win in the PRL. And a very, very, I say compressed, compact, or tight racetrack tonight. Good job.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So, very busy night on track. Lots of spins. Turn 1 and Turn 2 proved to be really treacherous for a lot of drivers. What do you think made you better than the rest of the field tonight?
Well, I don't know if better than the rest of the field is the right description. I mean, Alex and Jack are both very quick tonight. I think given different circumstances, it could have been a tight battle between the three of us. But yeah, I mean, I just got to give a big shout out to my team, Hyperion, and specifically our new pickups that we've had. The team has had a ton of growth in the last week or so. And one of our new pickups, actually, Zach Kerr, made the setup that I ran tonight. So big shout out to him. I think that definitely gave me an edge over the competition.
Yeah, it's always good when you get a new teammate who just participates and really helps that quickly. That's pretty cool to see. So next week is Long Beach. And I'm going to ask you the question I'm going to ask everyone tonight. Are you hoping it's dry or wet Long Beach?
I'm good with either, man. Bring it on. I want to get a bit of redemption after Imola last week. That was a rough one to lose it on the last lap there. So I think I'd like to see rain in at least one more race coming up. So I think I can keep it clean in Long Beach, but I mean, I thought that about Imola too. So I guess we'll just see how it shakes out.
Hopefully there's not as much rain as it was at Imola. Maybe
yeah,
a little less.
That was kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, listen, great job on your first win, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks. Just real quick before I hop off, I just want to thank the sponsors, Rogue Energy and Tam Livery. Tam's been a great painter for the team. He's put together, 2 different liveries for us now. So big shout out to him and big shout out to Rogue. We couldn't do it without those guys. So thank you very much, and thank you guys for broadcasting. It's an awesome experience, and always great to participate in PRL.
Thank you for being here, and great job. We'll see you next week. That's Alex Caruso, finished P1 in the LMP2s in that 89 machine, Joey.
Indeed he did. Let's round off the podium in GTP and talk to Dayton Lowe and Daniel Zeggers. We'll bring them both in here. Dayton, we'll start with you. The one of the highly hyped drivers this season, coming up from LMP3 after all your big results last season, and P2 today, only 10 seconds off Campbell. You got to be pretty happy with that.
I'm gonna be real. I was not expecting to be within the top 5 today. I hadn't done a lick of practice up until tonight. When I loaded into the session, I realized I was driving a set from 2 seasons ago, so I was not prepared for this at all, but I'll take P2. I'll walk away with it real happy.
There you go. Do you think you can take the fight to Sean this season, maybe qualify a little bit closer to him, a little bit more straightforward race with a setup you're familiar with? Do you think you can fight him for the win?
I'm going to keep my expectations reasonable. I don't feel too hot in GTPs, but I'm going to try my best, and Long Beach is next week. It's my absolute strongest track, and I'm going to actually put in some practice next week.
I look forward to it. Daniel Zeggers as well. Speaking of drivers moving up into GTP this season from LMP2 last season, your first podium in a GTP car.
Yeah, woo, nice to be back, fellas.
Yeah. Again, that last lap, you and Michael into turn 1. What did you see from your perspective? Did you see him flying off the road outside?
Yeah, man, what a shout out to Mike, man. What a move down there. But almost towards the last turn, going 3 wide, sticking it. Yeah, but then I was managed to cross back just a little bit to stay alongside him. Yeah, and then he just unfortunately lost traction there. Good news is he didn't put it in the wall and finish P5. But man, what a race of attrition here for half the field. It looks like. Boris in the air about halfway through the race. Hey, you guys are racing for a podium. It's like, holy smokes.
Still a good day for PRE, though. P3, P5. Congrats, Dan, and we'll see you at Long Beach next week.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks again, fellas. Thanks to Precision Racing Esports and all the sponsors along this season and for what you guys do. So, appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Daniel Zeggers coming home in P3. Let's round things off. Jack Hedgecox, Caleb Lehman, Derek Watson's going to wrangle them both.
We're going to do my best. We'll see if that's possible. But Jack, you had the incident on lap 1. I have to ask you about it. What's your perspective of what happened there?
Well, I look back at it. I mean, he came back across when we were going side by side before the corner. He nicked me into the grass, and then at that point I was catching the car, and I mean, I didn't really have much else I could do. He just turned me. So, unlucky. Glad I could get back to second there throughout the race. Just damage control, but definitely reporting that one. Just kind of got dumped, felt like.
Yeah, and that's the story for me of the night, though. I mean, obviously, you had the unfortunate thing happen in the first couple of turns of lap 1, but driving all the way back to P2 tonight, is that just a matter of strategy, a matter of saving tires? What do you attribute that to?
I mean, I looked in practice. I was the quickest out of this front group of us, and I knew I had pace. It was just picking the points for the passes, especially going through the field, and definitely felt like if I had a one-on-one fight with him, definitely probably would have came out on top. But yeah, just picked my moments, really.
All right, well, I'm going to end your portion of the interview by asking a question that we've asked almost everybody tonight. Next week is Long Beach. I need a yes or no. Rain.
I hope not. I'll be honest. That for that track being as one groove as it already is, the amount of, oh my word, I don't even want to. I'm praying that there's no rain, because that's gonna be worse than Imola, that's for sure. But I'm hoping for dry. One there last season, so definitely looking to repeat. I'm really hoping it's dry.
All right. Well, listen, great job at getting back to P2, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it.
All right, so the man now known as Caleb Lemon inside the broadcast booth. Caleb got that car repainted for our benefit this week. So a great job on the podium tonight. Pardon me. What was it like out there?
It felt like I had a little bit better pace in qualifying, but I just couldn't put it together. So I was a little bit out of position. Got lucky with some incidents in front. Was up in P2 at one point, but Jack just had too much pace. I don't know if it was something with our setup. I was dealing with understeer, oversteer, just kind of fighting the car the entire way. And I got lucky with Sean passing me on the last lap, because I was going to have to fuel save. I don't know if I had enough fuel to go to the end, but I'm happy with P3. So.
All right. Well, so get that car repainted. I do want to really honestly say thank you. It helps in the broadcast booth a lot. And there you see it on screen, that highlighter yellow, if you will. So next week is Long Beach. I asked Jack, but I've got to ask you, are you hoping for rain?
So I missed last week. I was out watching the eclipse, so I missed the race. I'm actually looking forward to rain this season. I had a lot of fun in the rain and Sebring 12 hours. So they call it the Great Equalizer. So I think I have some talent in the rain, but we'll have to see.
All right. Well, listen, great job, and we'll see you next week in California.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, Joey, that's Caleb Lehman wrapping up our interviews here as we begin, I guess, the two race portion of our American stand of the schedule.
Indeed, and now we go a little bit crazy next week. Imola for LMP3 GT4, that's pretty straightforward, we're used to that. But GTP and LMP2 yet again take on Long Beach. This is always fun. We went here last season. It was a dominant win from Daniel Harris, if I remember correctly, but will it be a dominant win from Sean Campbell? Will it be a win from Dayton Lowe, who's going to be putting the practice in? Daniel Zeggers? Boris Ovando? Who knows? Nathan Olson? It's going to be a lot of fun. So join us here, same time, same place next week. I think that's the correct sequence of words. Imola and Long Beach, double prototypes on Monday nights here in the PRL. We hope you'll join us then. But for now, I've been Joey Tebben. Derek Watson's been Derek Watson. Our producer has been Ramiro Agustin Cisneros. And until we see you next time, so long.